Evening everyone, welcome along to the Stage by Stage show live again on a Friday night. I'm Trevor New and it's my pleasure to guide you through another night of rally stories for the next couple of hours or so, all being well. Very special guest who we'll get in a second. But it's been a brilliant day, hasn't it, in the World Rally Championship to have Craig Breen and Paul Nagel perform the way they did. Having not been in a World Rally car for a very long time was just incredible to see the pace, and the guys thought they could have went even faster, which is amazing. They've got themselves a nice road position for tomorrow as well. Ogier won't be so happy. He'd probably be running second on the road tomorrow as well. But that's just fantastic. How exciting was it to have a proper winter rally again? And it all went relatively smoothly today. It'll be interesting to see how all that pans out tomorrow. But it's great. I absolutely love winter rallies, proper ones. Minus 27, I think it was, in Sweden the last time I was there, so it's fantastic. So, as usual, folks, we're live, of course, on Twitter, on Facebook, and, of course, on YouTube. If you are watching live, please feel free to join in. So this is your show as much as it is mine and Bobby, who's joined us. So, any comments, just let us know where you're watching from. Any questions, the usual rules apply if you're watching it live. Clearly, if you're watching the recording, then we won't be able to react to those. And as I said, if you haven't seen any of these before, make sure you go and have a look at the previous shows that we've done. So the like of Ari Vatanen, Fred Gallagher, Seb Marshall, who co-driving, of course, Oliver Solberg this weekend. And commiserations to Aaron Johnson. What horrible luck that was. It sounds like an anomaly around COVID testing has ruled him out of it. But clearly that partnership's a lot of legs. He'll be back in that car very soon. So all the best to Aaron and that. So stagebystage.com/blog. If you want to see any of the previous shows, especially the ones we've done over the last 6 or 7 weeks, the Galway 50th anniversary, the International Rally one, Gordon Noble and Rory Kennedy was the first one. And it just goes on and on. So have a look at that. Also, the podcast. So the two things are separate. The podcast, which is audio only, is all about the learning experience. That's me interviewing people who have been very successful in life and business and just picking up the learning and sharing that learning with you guys with the hope that you're going to go off, do something with it, report back and see how all of that worked out. So again, stagebystage.com/blog for all of that content. The latest one with Robert Reid was supposed to go out today, but there's a couple of things have happened and you'll understand soon why that'll be going out next week. I've also one recorded with Henry Catchpole, who is of Carfection fame. So this Carfection have got over 1 million subscribers, the ultimate job for a lot of people. And really interesting story with Henry as well as to how you get into motorsport journalism, the Revo magazine, and then ultimately into Carfection. And of course producing 4K videos, which are great to watch. So that's what's coming up as regards to podcast. A few other people lined up for that. And of course, next week, we will have hopefully another live show like this. And in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to have Kenny Minstry back on again. So Kenny, you'll remember, joined us for the Galway Rally 50th anniversary, but there wasn't enough time to tell all his stories. Clearly, Kenny's got a lot to talk about. And we'll get him back on. Somebody who I helped out as regards navigating chase cars and that type of thing. So I can't wait to do that. Get Kenny back in for it. A couple of bits of housekeeping. Just Paul Glass sent me an email just to let me know the Highland Car Club Snowman Rally. So this was a rally that was supposed to be running as first round of the Scottish Championship, I think. And of course, with the current lockdown and everything that's happening, that's not possible. So they're going to do it a little bit different this year. They're going to have, actually, if I can get this photograph up here, I'll just share it with you. They're going to have the Snowman Rally Virtual Rallython. So 2021, you can see it there on the 6th of March. Get rid of my banner there. So on the 6th of March, they're going to organise something very special. They're going to have guests and interviews with people such as Ari Vatanen, who was on the show recently. Ari actually talked about a T-shirt that he signed, which you guys are going to give away. They'll have Jimmy McRae, David Richards, Alistair McRae, Andy Dawson, John Davenport and David Sutton, just to name a few. Also, some of the local competitors will be on there as well. So throughout the day, there's going to be lots of rarely seen photos, videos and special articles posted from the various decades. So it's a celebration of the whole life of the Snowman Rally. They're going to have a virtual Snowman Rally dirt competition in there. That a limited edition Snowman Rally t-shirt from the 76 event, which Ari talked about. That's the Morris Selden photograph. So that's going to be personally endorsed by Ari, and that's part of the auction. 2 original prints of that photograph as well. And a really good one of Colin McRae's first victory in New Zealand. So lots to go and see there. So if you want to find out more about that event, then it's on the 6th of March. Either sign up to the Highland Car Club Snowman Rally Facebook page, or any inquiries, it's secretary@highlandcarclub.co.uk, secretary@highlandcarclub.co.uk. So there we go. That's all the housekeeping out of the way, folks. So yeah, that's a different way of doing it. All the money, of course, is going to charity. So all the best, everybody involved, Paul and the guys up there for that. I hope that goes really well. Right, without further ado, let's get our guest in for tonight. I'm really looking forward to this. There's going to be plenty of stories. There's a lot about this particular character I'm sure a lot of you don't know. Most recently, of course, he's been in the press for being actually, I suppose, the saviour of trying to keep a round of the world championship on these islands. And that's really important that everybody gets behind it. So without further ado, let's welcome Bobby Willis. Bobby, how are you?
I'm just great. Thank you, Trevor.
Yeah. So you're home in Belfast, yeah?
Yeah.
Were you watching the rally today at all?
Of course. As much as I could of it. Fantastic.
So you're always busy. You're always flat out.
I just love these snowy rallies.
Have you ever done the Arctic Rally yourself?
Yes, I have. Yes. I think 1980, I think it was. I did that one. Somewhere around there. It was fabulous then.
Only 41 years ago then.
I think it was 80, yeah. The biggest thing about it was driving along the roads. Have you done it?
Not the Arctic, no. I've done Sweden 3 times in proper snow as well.
Right, so, yeah. No, you go across frozen lakes, and there's great big puddles on the lakes because they leave these holes to fish. And when you're driving along the road, you see this enormous lake in front of you, and you're coming in at 150 kilometers an hour. And you're just wondering, are the other cars in front of you down at the bottom of the puddle as well? It's really something special.
That actually happens. They do lose cars and tractors and things like that into the lakes sometimes if the ice isn't strong enough. I've certainly been over there to an ice school, done some coaching, and just talking to the farmer, and it's a real thing that actually happens. I'm sure I read somewhere with the Arctic, the Lapland Rally, that they actually rally across a bog as well.
Yeah, but the ice is so thick that they actually they can run railway lines across and trains cross through the winter across these areas. So a bog is not a bog at minus 20 or minus 40.
I know, of course. They're probably called a swamp. It'd be a posher than a bog. Like, that's me just come back to my roots there, clearly. And the other thing is a lot of it's built on, or a lot of the stages that they use is on military land as well. Again, I wasn't aware of that until the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Great to have you here. I'm really looking forward, as I said, to some of the stories from the co-driving side of things, as well as the rally organising side and Dakar. There's loads that we're going to talk about. But let's see who's here tonight and who's with us. So good old Friday nights. Who needs the Late Late Show? Yeah, well, it's totally different as a Late Late Rally show. Maybe not so late to start with, but it definitely does get later as we go through it. Evening, Matt. Bobby's got some good news to tell. Okay, no pressure at all, Bobby. We'll have a quick chat about that. Good evening, Willie, John and Sean. Not forgetting Trevor. Okay, everybody's chatting. Hello, Robert. Hello, Drew. Looking forward to another great Friday night. Well, hopefully we can bring that to you. Evening again, everybody. We're all well and safe at the minute. Looking good. BW from Paul Goodman. You know Paul?
Yes, indeed.
Look at this cheeky bugger here.
Oh
Alan
dear.
Bolton. Yeah, well, we can easily throw him out. We can ban
Throw him
him
out.
and tell him that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he'll be lying up there, just sitting at the fire. Hi, Derek. Good to have you here. Natalie. Hi, Natalie. Good to see Bobby hasn't aged. He never ages, this man, does he?
My goodness.
Natalie Barrett, that'll be. A few people about. Raymond Linton, I'm sure you've a few questions, Alan. Alan's not allowed to ask questions in this. Hi, Bobby. Good to have you here again. Hello, Rosemary. And hello, Eamon. Know the name, but not much about the man. Looking forward to some stories. Yeah, I think you'd be surprised just how much this man's been about over the years we got. So it makes a lot of sense, though, Bob, just to start off with what the latest is around Rally Northern Ireland and the dream it is of yours, and for many, many years now, to bring around to the World Rally Championship to Northern Ireland. And there's nothing to do, no suggestion we couldn't bring it to the whole of the island of Ireland, but there's reasons for that. So just update us then, really.
Oh, I wish I could give you everything, Trevor. I mean, wouldn't it be great just to say it's on? We still have a bit more work to do. I mean, we are working so hard to try and get this over the line. I think we all know what a terrible situation we've all been in for rallying, and much greater across the world. So I think if we're fair about it, that's the main reasons why we've not had the good news we all wanted. But with any luck, the pandemic is looking as though it may be clearing again, and we're pushing on and trying everything to get back for 22 and just see what we can do to get the event going.
It's fair to say, with when you were hoping to run the event in August of this year, that was the provisional plan. To try and put it together in this current climate would have been a struggle, really, even as we sit now. And I appreciate there are other events that are running, but to get the best value for money for the government of Northern Ireland, it makes a lot of sense to push it back into 22.
Absolutely. So we've got to do all the business cases again. It's just an enormous amount of work to prove the value of an event like this. But we're pushing on, and it's fantastic to have Motorsport UK behind us. The promoters are very, very keen to come. So let's just hope the wind changes and maybe we can get some good news.
There is a lot of chat about we've lost around the World Rally Championship, and that's not a good thing, in that it's going to be hard to get it back into the UK. I appreciate that, and there's certainly plenty of events that seem to have plenty of cash, which, of course, from a promoter's point of view, is something that will work quite well for them. But I would have thought the UK, having a rally in the UK is part of the crown jewels of motorsport. We hear about that. For the BBC, for example, over the years, have talked about the crown jewels of Wimbledon, the Open, all those types of major sporting events. And I would have thought, as a promoter of the World Rally Championship, having a round in the UK, which is the home of motorsport, has got to be something that they would see as something quite essential.
I think Motorsport UK do think that. I think most people who realise just the enormity of it, though, it's more than just a yes/no decision to get this sort of thing going. And in one way, being blessed by staying in Wales for 20 years has been incredible. But in another way, it's sort of we've missed the rally traveling. So that's my tooth that's just dropped out again.
Yeah, I've been struggling with it today.
It's been terrible. So
it's gone now, anyway. You don't have to worry.
It's gone, so we can forget about it. So, yeah. Just don't make me laugh.
No, you definitely have a few laughs in this show as well.
Yeah. So, Trevor, I mean, yes, it's my opinion that now it seems to be very difficult for the rally to be continuing in Wales over the next few years, and we have certainly interest in Northern Ireland. So if we can get it over the line, then we can prove all the economical benefits properly. and start with a clean sheet. I have no doubt that Northern Ireland, which I believe, or I earnestly believe it is the home of great events, could host an event of this nature. And I think, given a chance to run it, I think we'll have an enormous success.
If you think of some of the events that we've brought to this island, you know, I remember the original one that springs to mind for me is the tall ships. We had 500,000 people go to see the tall ships when they first came into Belfast, followed up by the Giro d'Italia, and everybody will remember about all the involvement, all the bikes and the pink and how everything was working around then, which was a huge success. And of course the Open, to bring the Open to Northern Ireland and sell out in record time. But again, the people who went to the Open, my family went to the Open to watch golf. They've never showed any interest in golf whatsoever. But yet they got tickets to go there. I couldn't get tickets. I go to the Open, which is just down the road. So Royal St. George's is literally 20 minutes. 2011, I went there all week. I love it. The year Darren Clark won as well, which was amazing. I managed to speak to him on the Monday before it. And he was 125 to 1 as well. So a nice little bet on him. But yeah, so I've got friends who come down from London to watch that, and they wanted to go to Northern Ireland to watch the Open. They specifically wanted to go, and I couldn't get them tickets at the time. It turned out I couldn't get to it, but it's just amazing how, well, two things for me. One is the number of people who want to come to Ireland for a sporting event, and the number of people within the island and certainly within the province who would love to be able to host it, the hospitality, and show the world. That's certainly something that you got me on board with the Circuit of Ireland 2016. And I asked you, what's the main motive? Why do you do it? Why do you put yourself through all this pain? And I remember you telling me at the time, it's just to prove that our wee country, we can run a world-class event.
Absolutely.
I definitely believe that's the case. And if everybody in the country got behind you, and it's not just Northern Ireland anymore, it's the whole of the UK. Because Northern Ireland, it's a conduit for getting around to the championship back. So anybody who's got an interest, and, you know, we're talking about Alan Bolton there. So Alan Bolton's been in a motor club for the last 20, 25 years. I would say Alan Bolton's still one of the guys who's organising the rallies. To try and get 20-year-olds into the motor club to help organise the rallies, we need this halo effect. We need to raise awareness of rallying as a sport, as a brand, in order for the Mark II man to go down the street. You know, how easy would it have been for somebody who's in cycling to go and try and get sponsorship for cycling after the Giro was arriving here? And it's no different to the man in the street, you know, the Clubman Rally man, to go to his local garage to get a few quid to pay for a set of tyres. It's going to be a lot easier if more of those garages know about the sport of rallying and seen how infectious it was. Me, as a 10-year-old, I got hooked on it, addicted to it, a quarter of a mile up the road from where I lived in Market Hill. And that's it. So for the last 50 years, you know, very close to 50 years, I've been hooked on rallying. And we just need to be able to do that, I feel. It's just something, unless everybody gets together to support it, there's no better man than you to head the whole thing up. But unless we've got full support, not just, as I say, in Northern Ireland, but also across the UK, you know, motor clubs, and the Motorsport Industry Association, you think of the number of people who are employed in motorsport and directly employed in rallying as well. Yeah. So, thoughts?
Trevor, I mean, it's something I would say, I mean, I still have many, many meetings to go to talk to people. And one of the key points that I say is, why would an old, fat, 66-year-old guy who has no interest in cycles or indeed sailing, you know, why would I go every day during the Giro d'Italia to go and watch it? Why would I go to see the tall ships or the police and fire games or anything? And we do have this inherent interest for big events in Northern Ireland. So that's one reason that I know we can do the job. But you are absolutely right. I mean, we've done big events, and let's give us a chance and let's see what we can do.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, we'll come back to that later on as we go through it. There's a great little message here, which from Philip. There we go. So make sure you get that tooth under the pillow tonight, Bobby, and maybe the fairies will bring around to the World Rally Championship to us.
Maybe that's what.
That could be the omen, really.
I'll be absolutely happy with that.
Michael O'Neill, yes, we will be talking about Bobby doing the Circuit of Ireland, the Golf Diesel in 1980 as we go through this. Definitely. So, Roy Dempster echoes, I think, a lot of the people who are watching this. Nobody works harder for the good of our sport than you, so fair play. Jackie Anderson,
nice.
Hamilton's Born. Hi, Trevor and Bobby. Hi, Jackie. Hope you're well. Definitely love to see Rally Northern Ireland here, Jenny. We all would. Shh. Well done, Christopher. We've done that one. Who else have we got here? We've got Christopher Douglas and my sister, who's one of the people I told you went to see the golf. Sheila McDonald, you'll know from all the way from Scotland, and Rob. So big interest. We'll have you over here as well as part of that whole deal. If anybody can bring the World Championship to Northern Ireland, it's Bobby. No better man for the job. If it's financial, if it's all down to the financials, Bobby, there's plenty of people who support us, and of course, we'll have a chat about that as we go through the night then. So,
Trevor, it is really humbling to see these messages like this, because whilst you know there's a lot of support, it's very, very difficult because I've really got nothing to tell people. So I tend not to go out and talk about it until we get a little bit further on the line. But it's just wonderful to know that support is there. Absolutely brilliant.
Okay, right. Let's talk about your interest in motorsport initially, and then the co-driving side of things. Where we first met, it would have been navigation rallies, Bobby. I reckon must have been 1979 or 80.
Did I beat you?
You were in class 2. I was only beginning. I was only a novice. I was 14 at the time, you know.
You probably still won then.
Yeah, no. Were you in a Mazda RX-2 or something way back then?
Yeah, I think I did do.
I remember that. Okay, right. So your accent clearly isn't from Northern Ireland originally. I remember this Englishman come and try and beat us in our navigation rallies. That'll never happen. So what's the background to that?
Especially in Armagh.
Exactly. In South Armagh. What's the background to you being interested in rallying in the first place then?
Interest in rallying. I think interest in rallying was my father did a little bit of it. He was, I don't know, he was in some military team just after the war, and he talked about a lot about retiring on a rally in goodness me, I've told you.
I think it was Tim Healy Pass.
Tim Healy Pass.
Yeah.
And retired, and the great story of eggs being rationed in England at the time, and then goodness me, they retired by a farm, and I think he told me he had like 10 eggs or something, and that was a great story for a child growing up about rallying, but no interest in rallying until I came across a rally one time when I was over here. Dad moved over with the Belfast Telegraph, the main Northern Ireland newspaper. So I was sort of living over here as a teenager and growing up, and we're coming back from a party, saw this navigation rally and thought, this is worth going for. And I suppose that's when I did so many of those navigation rallies because of that. It was just great fun in those days.
Had you a love of maps back then? Because that's definitely something that you can apply yourself to.
Had I loved maps? Well, I suppose, really showing my age, maps weren't that good in those days. You had a 1 inch to 1 mile rather than the 50,000, which are almost twice as good. And in the south, you had half-inch maps.
I would debate the 1 inch map. I thought was easier to read the road on, as opposed to 50,000. That was my thinking anyway when they changed. But, you know, I'm not a map man. I'll leave that to professionals such as you, Michael Orr, Gordon Noble, Drew Todd, all those guys. And the way I define a proper navigator co-driver is somebody who will actually take a map out at lunchtime. Remember John McLean talking to me once about an engineer, and he said, he's not an engineer. I said, what do you mean? He says, proper engineers at lunchtime, they get an engineering magazine out and they read that.
Absolutely.
So I did enough, but I had a good interest in maps, but I wasn't like addicted to them where a lot of proper navigators. Think Fred Gallagher, Terry Harman. Fred Gallagher.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I was certainly that person.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the start of the navigation rallies then.
Yeah. And I suppose when you start with navigation rallies, if you have a lot of time or maybe you've got the passion for it. You could, in those days, we were out every weekend. I mean, it was just crazy when I think back. Every weekend was rallies and preparation. And indeed, we used to do recce's for rallies and checking roads and finding places where you could get punctures because you thought the rally would be going down this road, and marking up maps again for the next rally. And wonderful. So it was wonderful training for things. And indeed, I suppose as you got more experience, then when we crossed over into Monaghan and Cavan area, then it was really, really hard because they were half-inch to a mile maps, and most, well, the roads were shown, but not necessarily in the right order, I suppose you could say. So you could end up driving up a farmhouse drive or something for half a mile and finding you turned 100 meters early at the crossroads. But yeah, great training.
Was it the Drumlin rally in Monaghan? I remember that
rally.
Yeah. And of
incredible
course,
rally. Yeah.
The king of navigation rallies down south was Paul Phelan, really, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
And the knowledge that man would have had, and I suppose were the marking maps back then at that point, I suppose.
Well, yeah, you tended to, even though Drumlin, you would have finished at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning sometimes. So it was a really hard rally. So then I used to write up the maps and go through all the roads and check up and make notes of the roads that you missed, and then you carried that on to the next time you went to Monaghan.
And just built the experience and the notice maps and all those things that go with it.
Wonderful. Yeah.
All right. So you ended up doing the Circuit of Ireland in 1977. This fantastic car here with
the fantastic overalls.
Were you the co-driver or the mechanic? I just couldn't make this bit out.
Well, the hat belies the fact that I was a co-driver. Yes,
the hat was
I think I still have those orange overalls somewhere.
I had that Dunlop hat as well. It's Dunlop, isn't it? That hat. I can see Dunlop.
I think it was. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a proper tarmac rally there. Ballynahinch Car Mart as well.
Yeah.
So just talk us through this then. Is this your debut on the Circuit of Ireland?
It was, yes. To be honest, I'm sure I must have been following it before that, but it was the rally to do in those days. It was just wonderful. And Clifford Davis, I think I did some navigation rallies with him, and then we went on and we decided to do the circuit, and off we went.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what the result was.
It doesn't matter. So moving on then to the diesel Golf that somebody mentioned before. So this is in the Scottish Rally in 1980, and was this David?
Yeah, that was a dentist from Belfast by the name of David Macaulay, who's still a very good friend, wonderful guy, and there were about 8 of us in that year doing diesels. It was a diesel category, and I think maybe Ronnie McCartney joined in a Mercedes or something at one stage. But most of us, including Joe McHale, Austin's brother, competed on with this car. And I mean, they were so standard. There was really nothing you could do to diesel in those days. So if you wanted to go faster, you took the weight out of the car and therefore took the spare tire out, and we took the risks. But I have to say, through all the rallies and all the countries I've been in, those championships, both the British and the Irish Championship, the diesel Golf years were absolutely the best because all the cars were the same. It wasn't a case of spending more money to get a better car. So yeah, we had a really, really good time. Really good time with that.
Excellent. So then, I think it was a party at your folks' house, and you met somebody.
Yeah.
To get you to the next stage, which was quite exciting when we start to move up into where we're heading next.
So Trevor, then my my parents had moved back over to Middlesbrough, and I stayed over here. And one year I happened to bump into some guy. I can't remember his name, Tom somebody, and we got talking, and he was interested in rallying, and why don't you come over to our rally? which you will remind me what it was. The Cartel, whatever it was in the 1980. Track rod, what is it?
It would have been the track rod, I imagine.
Track rod.
Yeah. Might have been the National Breakdown. One of those anyway.
It was, absolutely, yeah. So we couldn't afford it. So he said, well, I've got some money and you can have that money. And I honestly have no idea what it was, but I hot-footed it back as an enthusiastic guy, and actually rung up without doubt, one of Ireland's best journalists, Sammy Hamill, who worked in the Belfast Telegraph. And good old Sammy and I had a meeting, and he said, there's a young guy I know from Enniskillen who's been absolutely brilliant recently. And that was Alan Johnson. So we hooked up and had a fantastic couple of years together then.
Yeah, it was more than a couple. Like you did 3 or 4 years. Yeah, it was a lot. Anyway. So why was Alan so good then? What was the talent you had? Because Marcus' son is probably watching this as well.
Mark,
Mark
indeed.
is a good friend, yeah.
Well, I remember Mark at he was about 18 inches long when I met Mark, I think. But Alan had the most exceptional talent that I have ever come across with a driver. Just uncanny how good he was, and just one of the nicest guys ever to be around, and certainly one of the nicest guys to go with and learn and indeed cut your teeth with, I suppose you could say. So we managed to beat a number of people, and there's so great people like David Mann was in our team, our British junior team, and Louise Aiken a lot, all these guys. And I suppose we had a wonderful time as a British junior team, and off to Sweden, where we learned a lot, and indeed Neil Peast as well, and a couple of RAC rallies in that as well, which is, all big learning rallies.
Yeah. I think you finished 6th in the Neil Peast, didn't you? Back then.
I think it was, yeah. Everything. It was a great result. Terry Harriman did it. Terry Harriman, and I think Fred were doing it in Rothman's cars as well.
In the Opals, that would have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was, those were the years to really learn. And being part of the British junior team, we had a guy called John Taylor who was an fantastic driver, but also national hunt jockey in his day.
Steeplechase.
And he was the sergeant major who got us up and got us jogging in the morning and all that sort of nonsense. Crazy man, but we learned so much in those days, and goodness me, that was a great thing. And I think there are junior teams and people are learning now much more, and it's great to see it.
Yeah, I remember back then, I think you'd Conrad Bartelski in the team at one stage, didn't you? He was a downhill skier, or
yes,
maybe not in the team, but he certainly was driving a Corolla. Team. Yeah. But he drove a Corolla like Alan's when you were driving the Corolla. I think
was it a Corolla I'll go with your memory.
I've got a memory of him coming across to Lurgan Park. He definitely did Lurgan Park. I can't remember what car. I'm sure it was a Corolla that he did it in, but I'm sure, no doubt the very knowledgeable audience will send us a message about that one as we go through it. But that was great. You mentioned Terry Hyman there, but that was definitely a link where Terry got you involved in that Rothmans team. And there's a famous story which Fred told us about him and Terry and Ian Grindrod not being the happiest people within the team. There was a lot of politics, let's call it, ending up with them having a mighty party in Kensington one night in London. But you were involved at some point in that setup.
Well, I'm not sure I was at the party as far because I was doing the rally that year with Alan Johnson doing the RAC rally, and then I got a call from Terry saying, would I come over to London and help mark up maps? And in those days, we didn't have, goodness, I'm beginning to sound like a really old man when I say all this sort of thing, but in those days, you had to buy Ordnance Survey maps. So to do RAC rally, it would have taken 80 or 90 maps in a set. Fantastic. So they all needed to be marked up, and some of the big teams like Opal would have had 50, 60 sets of maps.
50, 60 sets?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So off I trundled to London, and we all picked up the map number. And there was one, there was always one where every road on the map needed marked up with pencil. So goodness me, that was 4 or 5 days of hard work marking all these maps up, and just you took a map number and you went through it. There were 6 or 7 of us marking, and probably the boys did have a party or two that night. But, I was too keen because we were also working on the rally to compete on the rally ourselves. So
yeah. But those British Junior days are great. There's a photograph. I assume this is with Alan here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Team Toyota. What else have we got here?
That's the Swedish rally. Yeah.
I remember Isabel's restaurant in Belfast. It was green.
Yeah.
The front
it was near Shaftesbury Square. And the guy, again, I had knocked on his door one day and said, would you be able to sponsor us? And he came up trumps, and he was fantastic. Really great help. Brian. Yeah.
I think it's quite cool that you got Opel involved on a Ford as well. That's definitely showing your sales skills there, Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sweden was a hell of an experience for you guys to go to and do that rally.
Yeah.
That was the car. I remember this. So that must have been a mega car at the time when you were in that, yeah?
That was just fantastic. And that was the ex-Pair Excellent car that I think we rolled it on the last run through the last test road the week before our AC rally in Wales. So Sidney Meek was involved, Chris's father. Yes. He was our team manager. And it was, again, how many times has this happened to me in my rallying career? We'll just do one more. And we were on our roof again. So, so that was the week before. So the car had to be brought back, fixed up, and then brought back again over to Chester or Bath to do the rally. But oh goodness me, that was a trying time, and that we brought it back indeed for that school. Basically, those were the days of bringing. We brought the car into some local school, and the kids were all over it. They had a wonderful time, and to be honest, that's one of the things that stuck with me for the future is how good it is to bring these cars to kids and involve the young people.
Yeah, because I remember going to an event with you in Ballymena. Must have been 2017 after we a successful year. And so you were involved in the organisation of something around STEM. So STEM being science, technology, engineering and maths, I think it stands for, doesn't it?
That's exactly right.
Just talk us through that event, because I was really interested at the time. I enjoyed that.
Well, 2017 was supposed to be, it was going to be another ERC rally until we didn't get the money. So we were going to then run a smaller rally, and that started to fall apart as well. So we decided to carry on with the plans we'd made, which is evolving the STEM, and indeed Women in Motorsport came over. They brought a Formula One car, and we had so many schools coming and being involved in the motorsport thing. Great feedback from people, and I mean, really good. I mean, there's such an opportunity there with engineering and indeed children. We need to do more of bringing these ones in.
Yeah, it goes back to what we're saying, getting people involved in motorsport at a very early age and getting them interested in it is what a halo event like, the World Championship coming over to our shores would definitely do that, And again, that links into other budgets and other things that the government could potentially offer money on, or funds, I'm sure, and again, going back to just finding creative ways to do it and just to get over the line when it comes to the budget. Those are areas that definitely would work, in my view, anyway.
I think it is. It's a little bit like you have to think outside the box and come up with new ideas. And if you come up with new ideas spawn other ideas. And that certainly seems to work quite well.
Yeah, and it's not only that, you getting the councils involved and making sure everybody understood the value. I remember that was very important when we ran the all live program that we did over the 2 days in 2016. You know, and it's as important to get the mayors in front of a camera and make sure that everybody is involved in it. Everybody finds the value in it, and councils definitely will do that. Yeah, and just the other things that I remember that you were doing that doesn't seem to have happened much elsewhere. Idris Elba was definitely a great idea to get someone like that involved. And even on that same event, I know Rory Best, Stevie Whitford took Rory Best out in the Zero car as well.
Yeah,
a high-profile rugby player, Ulster, Ireland, Lions as well.
Absolutely.
I definitely think there's an element of that. Again, to try and get teenagers involved in it, whoever it is that they're following on Instagram or even now on TikTok, if you can get someone that got interested in it, it just would be amazing the amount of interest you'd get in it. And getting these kids engaged in motorsport at an early stage, then hopefully, like us, get addicted to it, become part of the grassroots organisation, and potentially go on to be co-drivers, drivers, engineers, or work in motorsport in some way because of the passion for it.
Trevor, I do think it's I think that it's one of these things that motorsport could and should perhaps try to do more of, is including more people. And I say, oh goodness me, I would say it once a week that we're not here to sell to motorsport people. We need to be thinking of the Tesco and the B&Q shoppers, the people who don't know motorsport, and try to find a hook to bring them in. Because when we bring them in, then we'll bring the sponsorship in.
Yeah. And of course, the government. If we're going to be using public money to do it, the government needs to make sure the people on the street understand the value. Yeah. And for me, that's the big thing, really. That's the thing that needs to be chosen to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it is motorsport is very difficult. And I have been right through it from, you know, I have had such a fantastic innings at the sport, but, you know, it's so easy to complain that we're not getting help or we're not getting things, but maybe we need to think of things in a different way as well. And you know, maybe it's not other people's fault. It's maybe possibly that we're thinking of things in the wrong way. And if we change our way round, that we can attract people in a different way. And certainly, you know, that Idris Elba thing you mentioned, I was so lucky, but getting him to do that rally, it's still being shown around the world on television today.
It was a Discovery Channel, wasn't it?
It was then. I mean, I get text messages certainly every 4 months telling me they've seen something in Hong Kong or in Singapore or whatever about this one rally. You know, and you know, we do it, but maybe we need to try and find ways of doing more of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Carl Frampton, I think, was involved that year. Well, 2016 he was, yeah. I remember Johnny Greer taking for a spin in the car, which we had a laugh at when we were doing the show, mocking him.
You know, but these guys all love motorsport. Rory Best loves motorsport. So you're actually pushing an open door. And
Rory McIlroy's a big car nut as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
just can't afford his flight.
But this is it. You know, if you can find the equivalent for teenagers and get them involved, get them excited about it, because grassroots motorsport, we're in trouble in motorsport in general, I think, because of the lack of understanding of where manufacturers need to spend their money, first and foremost, what they're trying to promote, right up the top of the sport. But we've got a good way of doing it, you know, and it's just getting people involved that way. Mm-hmm. So we're up to 1983. This is the RAC rally. You said we got the kids involved and got, look at that chap there. That's a good head of hair, Bobby. So this is the actual rally. Yeah.
That's the guy, yeah, exactly.
That's the rally. And you can only drive that car with those sorts of angles on it. So that's great. So moving up then to 1986, so you worked with Terry Harriman. Was that the start of rally maps then? You talked about marking those maps up in London, and you did a bit more work with Terry in the early days of preparing pace notes and that. Just talk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, Terry, I think he sold the business on to Brian Patterson Pace Notes, after a few years, but he asked me to come. We got very friendly at the time, and we went off making notes, and I remember going to the Isle of Man making notes, which he wrote up and printed, and again, fantastic experience for me. But certainly from the mapping point of view, we came back, and in those days, the big teams were competing on the Circuit of Ireland. And so Ford would come over and they would want 30 sets of maps, all the good detail maps.
Yeah.
And I then had to contact Opel. They would have been going to, so it was Steve Turvey's dad, Robin Turvey.
Robin Turvey, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Robin Turvey asked me to mark maps up, and then it got known that I was doing it. And I had half the school kids around me then with a pencil in their hands marking maps every night. And I mean, I can remember thinking, you know, this is enormous work, but it was the honor of actually doing it for the teams and getting these contacts inside to the teams, and you were known by the teams. So I have no idea what I charged them at the day, but even if I charged them half as much money, it was worth it, because from those contacts, you made more contacts. So it was really, really good. And yes, that was the start of rally maps, because we didn't have photocopiers in those days. And so you only could mark them up with pencil and then rub them out afterwards. And we got more and more, and then the photocopier came along, and then it was great. Yeah.
Color photocopying, yeah.
Yeah.
Big change.
So yeah.
Yeah, because you were selling things as well back then. I remember going to your house once, and I can't remember what it was we went to buy from you. What would that have been?
A long wait, maybe.
It wasn't a map book or anything like that. It might have been, I don't know, some sort of co-driver equipment anyway.
We did dabble in that sort of thing at the time. But again, by soon after that, I was needing my own equipment. So therefore, it was easier to buy lots of stuff and sell it on. Yeah.
But the co-driving was still going strong. So again, 1986, you started co-drive. Somebody who I joined later on, Robin Phillips.
Yeah, that's right.
So this was in the Gulfs. These were 4 cars ran by David Sutton Motorsport, who of course ran Escorts originally, then the Audis in the British Championship. David Sutton, who actually ran our car in 2003 as well, which we've many a chat about this. So Robin Phillips was a very quick guy. So the idea was you had 4 drivers, 4 parts of the UK, 1 from Wales, 1 from Scotland, 1 from Northern Ireland, and 1 from England, and 4 identical cars, and off you go. That was the thinking behind it, wasn't it?
That was it. Yeah, absolutely. And off we went. And again, lots of fantastic contacts, and Robin was a wonderful driver. He did a great job, and it was just super to be involved. And then Simon Davison was involved then as well, who you would know.
Yeah, Simon was mighty quick. You know, Simon was very hard to beat from the gravel point of view, front wheel drive expertise as well. I think Simon was difficult to beat that year, in fairness, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I ended up doing a rally with him. I think it was the Manx International Rally with him as well. So
that would have been the Nissan, the 240 RS then that he did.
It was, yeah.
Where you ended up 8th or something like that on that rally.
Fantastic, yeah. Absolutely fantastic.
Remember Simon talking about that, actually.
Right 7.
That's a while ago. Yeah.
It was a late call.
I wasn't going to go there.
Which he's never, ever forgotten about for some reason. 40 years later, he still mentions right 7.
Well, okay. He didn't mention that to me, so you could have got away with that if you had kept your mouth shut there.
No. There were plenty of those.
So that was 86 was Robin, and then 87, you actually co-drove Frank Marr, didn't you?
Yeah, so Frank rang me up, and we ended up doing the national championship with
That's
Frank.
right, yeah.
And I think Irish events as well.
Definitely some internationals there, yeah.
What another wonderfully skilled driver, and just talent oozing out of every pore that he had. It was just wonderful for him. So yeah, a wonderful guy and pure talent and superb family and everything like that. So
yeah. Big loss to Irish Rally, because as a natural talent, and to be able to put it up the works teams, Galway in particular, he was just fantastic there.
Yeah. No, a great guy, and I think he learned a lot from leaving the Irish roads and going over to England as well for the national championship. Yeah. And then, of course, that brought me on being able to do a number of different rallies with different people. The Arctic Rally with a friend of Michael Sundstrom, who I supplied maps to and did service. By then, I was doing service plans for teams as well. Okay. Michael Sundstrom being one. So again, we do 6-7 service plans, but Bruno Sabi, that sort of rank of person.
So just for people's memory, Michael Sundstrom was a guy who came over to the 1986 Lurgan Park Rally in the 206. Was Richard Young co-drove him, but is that right?
He did, but he also was doing the British Championship in a 206
he was, yeah.
A really quick driver, really quick guy. Yeah, so we got quite pally, and yeah. So.
And that led then to co-driving John Hoglan.
Yeah, I think we did more or less a year together with John, ending up in Bohemia doing a rally out there, which was, again, just incredible. That was the Scottish, that one. And then and we went off to, that's a story in itself. And Dave Whittock is...
Okay, Bobby's frozen on us. He'll come back in a second, no doubt. Let's just have a quick look at the comments and see who else is in here. I'm sure Bobby will come back to us in a second. So, where are we here? So Myrtle's watching. Anybody can bring... Yeah, done that. Mark Johnson. Hi, Mark. It's a lot smaller than you last saw me. Loved what you've done for rallying though. And we all know your wildest moments with Dad. He definitely had plenty of wild moments. And he did describe a few of those, Mark. Of course, you went on in your own right, Mark, to be very successful in motorsport. Driving a Formula 1 car as part of a talent competition. Drifting, of course, huge success there. Who else we got? Rallying needs youth. Many clubs are struggling to encourage young blood, especially to join the organising teams. What's the answer to this $1 million question? Well, great question, Neil. We don't know, and it's a hard one to crack, that one. But I'm going to have a go at it over the next few weeks. I've got this idea to put together a podcast. It'll be an audio podcast only. Just to try and address this, to see if I can chat to some people, try even get kids involved and just see what they're really interested in. How do we get them interested in rallying? And we had this conversation with Stevie Whitford recently to try and get kids interested in John Armstrong. And first off, computer games and the FIA Rally Star initiative is a great one to try and do that. And then the man in the street, so even the electrician who wants to go rally in an affordable car. That's where Stephen Whitford's micro challenge, or the idea of having some micros together that are affordable, sounded great. So I'm going to just do a little bit of investigative work. It's going to be interesting for me just to see what we can discover, or see if we can help work out how to get people engaged in it. It's something that I've noticed over the last few years, even with rugby, and the Six Nations are on at the minute, and we used to watch it when we could. So we'd take turns and go around each other's houses just to watch the live games. But the kids were never interested in it for some reason. More content to be up in their bedroom playing computer games online, talking to their mates. So it's definitely worth investigating, Neil, and watch this space, and we'll see what happens around that. So John's asking, does having Craig and Chris in the WRC help promote us more to get a WRC round? It'll do no harm anyway, definitely, especially those guys. Well, Craig in particular, we heard what Paul Nagel said on the show about 4 weeks ago. He said it didn't matter when he left Parc Fermé, the Titanic quarter, while he went left or right. To have a rally on this island would be in huge news. And clearly, if we're competing for the front of the World Championship, then it's definitely going to help us. Good question again. So, Tony Doherty, there's lots of people, including myself, from different motor clubs around Northern Ireland that can make WRC an amazing event here, just as we did in the ERC came here. Yeah, just look at that ERC and British Championship round 2016 and the number of R5 cars, the stages that we used then, the helicopter footage, everything, the reaction from the drivers. Absolutely no doubt that the drivers and everybody's going to love it. People coming here for the hospitality and the crack are going to absolutely love it. And they'll come back again. That's the key. They'll come for the rally. They'll maybe even stay on and travel around the country a bit more, but they'll come back to it, which is the legacy of the golf as well. People come over and watch the golf and they want to come back and play the courses then that they've discovered as part of that initial holiday. That's the thinking about it. Hello, Michael R. from Riyadh. Congratulations on your victory last weekend. Fantastic. Out in that incredible Toyota that he talked about on the podcast as well. So the Land Cruiser. Well done on that. And I know you have another event coming up soon. Not sure when exactly it is, but all the best for that one. What else? Another Friday night looking forward to. Well done, Trevor and Bobby. Thanks, Cynthia. Good to see the Furies in the house. Seamus McGettigan still looking good. WJ. Yeah, Willie Jones here. Hi, Bobby from Geraldine Miller. Hopefully he'll come back to us in a minute. He hasn't just disappeared. Good to hear you. Hope you're well. I think you mean it's good to hear it. Thanks, Brees. Martin says Gordon needs to check this out. You're right. And again, remember, anybody who doesn't see it live, or if you watch it halfway through, as soon as we finish, it'll go up as a recording literally 10 minutes after the show finishes. And you can watch it on Twitter, you can watch it on Facebook, or you can watch it on YouTube to your heart's content if you want to watch it a second time. Okay. Tommy Hayes, great to have this Twitter again on a Friday night. Would Bobby care to shine a light on the season spent with Frank Marr in 1987 on the National Championship in that S2 Escort? We have done that without prompting as well. So there you go, Tommy. We've done that. Mark, yes, I agree totally. Yeah. With the resurgence of historic rounds, does Bobby think he could bring a round of the European Historic Championship to come with the future WRC? I think he's busy enough at the minute, but that'll definitely be something that he could do. What else have we got? Power failure. Bobby said power failure. My goodness. So what's happening in Belfast where the lights have gone out, so it'll take a little while for the router to fire up and get his internet back, I'd imagine. But there we go. Hello, Julie Connolly as well in Spain. There's people watching all over the world. Amazing. I think bringing cars to schools and getting young people interested is a great idea. It definitely was. I went along to that event in Ballymena at the showgrounds, and it was just amazing that some entertainers came over, some scientists came over from England, and sitting in just in some science experiments with these kids who travelled from the whole, every part of the province. They actually were competing as well in, I can't remember the name of the competition, but literally it was to build little slot cars that ran on, it was an F1 challenge for schools. And the top schools in Northern Ireland were going to Malaysia to compete in the world final of it. F1 for schools, it was called, now I remember. And it was just an amazing competition. So that, again, just getting kids involved to build cars and the level of technology involved, computer printing, plastic printing to get the wheels right, aerodynamic. It just took it to a whole new level. And to see the kids so enthusiastic about that whole side of things was just great. I remember sitting in presentations that they did as well. So 6 kids in a team would go in and they'd have to do a stand-up presentation about why they should be chosen to represent Northern Ireland in the World Finals. Just great. And all those skills, you see these 6 and 7-year-old kids, they weren't that old, doing these presentations. It must really give them a good sense of confidence moving forward. What else we got? Barney Mitchell, Thomas Wedlock, you on, good buddy. Yeah, Thomas, you need to get on here. What's wrong with you? Banging the money about seeing the broader public around, preaching to the already converted, definitely. And Bobby's point here was just remember what the government has to do, or whoever's going to pay for this rally, they have to convince Joe Public, who knows nothing about motorsport, that's a good idea to bring another world-class event onto this island. Onto these islands, I keep saying it, because it's a UK thing now. No doubt about it in my mind. Right, we need a technology drive, live in-car cameras, broadcast to our phones as we line the hedges. We have the tech in our hands. I remember going to the Finnish rally with my Nokia communicator way back then, and you were able to see the stage times as the car finished the stages, and that was fantastic technology when we were first able to get internet on handsets. Nowadays, yeah, we could do that. Remember what we did in 2016? Again, Bobby just coming up with the idea that we need to be able to stream the Circuit of Ireland. And something fascinating happened then. And I was very fortunate enough to get John Desborough across to do it. Lisa O'Sullivan, who worked for 20 years in WRC Radio. She was the producer of the radio show at the time. Seb Marshall was our stage end reporter. And Jack Benyon came and sat in the studio. So we got Plum involved. And what people told me was that weekend was a pure time thief. The people like Gary Jennings and Mark Higgins saying it was a disaster because they couldn't get anything done. And there's something about having a live camera on a stage stop control, and it's just the grass moving, the reeds, or whatever it may be. You're transfixed with it. And we certainly had a lot of learning. Really, this is innovation at Bobby, and he put his hand in his pocket to pay for that. This is Bobby doing it. He won't be embarrassed when he's not here now. But it was his idea, and he invested his own money just to prove that we could do it. Again, something that we could do from an innovative point of view in Northern Ireland, which Oliver Cheesley was watching it, the top guys in WRC. No coincidence then in Corsica, I think it was that year, they ran a couple of tests, which nobody knew about, a couple of pilots. And then the following year, or certainly the year after that, they launched WRC All Live. So this is the sort of thing that we can do. And in my business as well, working with the automotive industry, we certainly are very good at claiming the prizes for Dealer of the Year in Northern Ireland because of our enthusiasm, our passion, the way we look after people. And again, people coming onto the island would definitely get well looked after. So some really good points here. Adam, wise words from Bobby is always looking forward to hearing about the co-driving days too. Yeah, we've only just got started in that. When the man comes back, we'll get that sorted. Is the rally coming to the island? Will it be north only, or is there likely to be a cross-border element? I'll let Bobby answer that one when I come back, Alistair, but it's not for me. Another Titanic rally sprint would draw in a lot more interest in people new to the sport. Yeah, definitely. Something, going back to Lurgan Park days, bringing the rally to the public as opposed to getting them to come to us is definitely something that would be appealing to it. Hi, David. I hope all is well. Peter, looking well. Bobby, rally maps are a must for any team. Yeah, great piece of... I insisted as a co-driver when I was professional, definitely, or even when I wasn't, I'd pay for it myself, to have a rally map book. You got to have it. You got to have it. It's just so much easier. Not that I'm selling them, Bobby. Loved your mats, Anna Micah. Yeah, definitely. Did Bobby use a paddy lamp? I don't even know what a paddy lamp is. Do you mean a potty lamp? I think that's probably what you mean, sister. Potty lamp. Yeah, he would have done that. You have to take your hat off to Bobby. Remember him in the navigation rallies back in the 70s, still heavily involved. Yeah, and he's as passionate now as he always was. Fab memories, tip-top team. Great. Keep the questions coming, how we address the next generation. Yeah, we'll do more of that. Right, here's a good one. So Michael Kimber, all the way from Wales. Most colleges have motorsport courses nowadays. You're right, I think of Myerscough College. I know there's certainly one in Belfast. One of the scrutineers, Steve, I'm sorry, Steve, I can't remember your surname, is involved with. And he was there as part of that STEM event at Ballymena. Recently contacted them to see if they wanted to be around whilst your partner's Adam was scrutineered for a minute. I must say, passport. It all went down very well indeed, and everyone was interested. And I was very surprised that the lecturers were asking students to get involved in rally. As a trick being missed, definitely. I would agree with that. No doubt. So, what else we got here? Have you a plan B, Trevor? We've always a plan B. We'll get Bobby in this phone. Worst case scenario. Did the goals run on red or green? who knows, that'll probably never get discussed. To get the younger generation to compete in motorsport, it needs to get a lot more cheaper. Prices at the minute would put you off. Yeah, there is that, but there is affordable motorsport as well. It's something that David Richards, when he took over as chairman of the MSA, which became Motorsport UK, David Lapworth, I've had a coffee with him a little while ago, and he was talking about his vision of guys pitching up in, let's say, a Honda Civic, and just turning it up to a hill climb or a sprint in the road car, which is perfectly safe. You don't need roll cages and things like that in it if you're going to do something like that. So entry-level sport is definitely a big focus on that. We need to get that done. Right, folks, that's it. Isn't it a good job we got the man back just in time, eh?
Oh, dear me.
What have you done? Did you turn the oven on and the electric shower and everything, or what happened?
I think it's that kind of day today.
You can't blame it on a bomb or anything nowadays. Like.
No, I can't and wouldn't, but yeah. Yeah. Well, where did you get to?
Well, we're just continuing with the co-driving journey. We were talking about STEM a little bit more, just reading through some of the comments. Somebody asked the question about the event being this one, Bobby, just for you, just so you can address it. Is the rally coming to the island? Will it be north only, or is it likely to be a cross-border element to it?
At the moment, very much the plan will be that we would be north only. There are reasons for that, and they're probably too long to go into tonight. But it was possible in previously 2007 and 2009, did a cross-border event, but I have worked well with Tourism Northern Ireland, and we decided that it would be better to try to get the funding from one source rather than trying to split it, because there's an awful lot of work goes into joining those two tourism bodies together, and then another person taking them. So we have a northern tourist board, we have a southern one, as in Board Forshire, and then you have Tourism Ireland, which reaches over the two of them. But the decision was at the beginning that it was probably better to go with a Northern Ireland-based event.
And it's fair to say you've plenty on your plate without having to complicate things. So the simple solution, the simple option is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're not a big company, and basically, as everybody would understand, we more or less have to self-fund everything. Well, I do self-fund everything that we're doing, and you need employees like Rally Ireland had, and that was a completely different business model to make that work. So, we do have some people earning a wage at the moment, certainly not myself, unfortunately, but we just do not have the money to start going into employment at the moment. Yeah.
And it's something that I was explaining to people a little bit when you left, the fact that 2016, when we did the all live thing, that was you putting your hand in your pocket to do that with just an idea, which, was a fabulous idea at the time. When we did it, people just no comprehension of how much of a budget we put that together with volunteers. And I think for what we did, and it was a last minute thing that we did it in the space of a week and a half or 2 weeks. On the morning that we were going live, we were setting up the studio, because that's how close to the market was.
And what was the studio?
I know, it was in an industrial unit with a cloth and a camera that was fixed and a producer upstairs and us making it up as we went.
And not many people know, Trevor, that and I honestly don't remember the exact budget of the event at that time, but when you run an event with this sort of thing, you always have to have a contingency, which usually with my budget starts with a 10% contingency, and then obviously things eat into it, and you end up knowing that you've got money left. So we knew we had money left when it was coming to the rally days, and that's why we had this last minute idea. And it worked spectacularly well. So, yeah.
Again, I was explaining to people that the promoter of the World Rally Championship was watching us do it as well. They had an interest in it, which again,
they did, yeah,
nobody knew much about. Just explain that one then.
Well, I mean, the whole idea was that we did a proper event live. I mean, you've explained, I presume, Trevor, on how the event went. So I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
The people who were watching it, so Oliver Cheesley watched it, and a couple of other people who were very complimentary of what we did, and it was the seed of an idea which became all live, from what I can see.
Absolutely.
Is that about right?
That is about right. I think so, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Gary reckons that bad things happen in threes. You've had two almost disasters tonight, Bobby. You didn't swallow your tooth, which is a good thing.
No, it's still here.
And Michael R reckons you've another 50p in the meter and you're back again, which is great.
I made it back, yeah.
Yeah.
I made it back.
I don't know what this means. Let's hope he hits something, Gary WBM McDonald. Is that a cryptic message to you, do you think?
I think I've been a diabetic for a long time. And there have been times when I've been with Gary, who's been part of the organizing team of the circuit for many years, that I've gone what we call going low, which is not a great experience to be with a diabetic when they're going low.
Okay, cool.
So I think that's what that means.
So Mark Podcast, love this podcast. Trev's turned me down on Barbados Rally, Bobby. Fancy likely lads 2.0. There you go. There's an invitation to go to Barbados. I don't remember turning you down, Mark Johnson. I don't think we just negotiated the deal fully at that point. Clearly over a beer in Mallorca somewhere, but that's another story. Right, okay, let's crack on with this career then. So we got up to 1988, I think it was. You'd done the Arctic Rally with Erkki Pitkänen. Who's a friend of Michael Sundström's.
Michael's, yeah.
Yeah. And that led then to the Bohemian Rally. So that story you were going to tell us about Dave Whittaker being in the car with you. Oh, Dave Whittaker, by the way, I spoke to on Sunday. I hadn't spoken to him in a long time. He was on the show with Niall last week. So I had a fantastic call with Dave over about, again, another 10-minute conversation over an hour and a half. He was in good form, and so.
Well, he's one of the most lovely guys in rallying, Dave, and always has been, and what a story he has behind him. So you're right. We were trundling down, I think it was the A stage, AE, I think, and there was Per Eklund and Dave Whittaker had some kind of a problem with their current vehicle, standing like two full-on souls on the side of the road. So we had to stop and give him a lift. So then we carried on the recce for, I think, certainly that day and probably the next day in the end, well, they started in the back, but we moved it that the co-driver sat in the back in the end, which was another great laugh because when we went around to check the notes, we changed the plugs around. So I was speaking to Dave and I changed the plugs around. So I was giving the notes to, it just, crazy times, but yeah, great fun, and we've been very good friends since then.
Brilliant. The Bohemia Rally then is fairly basic accommodation.
Wow, yeah. Well, Bohemia was Czechoslovakia in those days, and
who were you co-driving then?
John Holden.
John, was it? Okay.
Yeah, who was Mr. Skoda, of course.
Of course he was. Yeah.
So it was like going to a rally with the king.
Who Fred Gallagher had his debut with on Rally GB, his first World Championship Rally.
Yeah. An incredible person. I did ice notes or gravel notes for Stig Blomqvist with him in that the very snowy RAC rally.
Oh, 1996 when Stig finished third.
So John and I were together. And we were the only ones who got through a couple of those really snowy stages, which they wouldn't allow anybody through.
Yep.
So there was a bit of talk, but maybe we shouldn't have been doing it at the time, but I'm sure Andrew Kellett will forgive me by now. Yes, so we got through every stage, and we had just standard car and standard tyres, John and I. Great fun.
Brilliant. Okay. Fred tells a story about a driver's revolt on that rally, actually, which is quite a funny one on the podcast. So if you want to listen to that one,
I'll have
it's quite interesting. Yeah. So the Mobil 1 Rally Challenge then? You were working alongside Terry again.
Again, still mates with Terry, and then we did that. Yes, indeed. And I have no idea what I was doing, but it was great fun at the time. I think I was secretary to it or something like that. So that was a wonderful concept of a rally where we managed to get, or Terry, I think, and the team, Mike Greasley was involved, had 4 different manufacturers.
Yeah,
I think it was, and then the drivers drove each one of the cars on the same stage. And a lot of fun, a fantastic television program as well.
And different parts of the UK, because they were in Wales, they were in the Isle of Man.
Yorkshire, Isle of Man, yeah. No, great.
And that was probably born out of the Oscar David rally sprint then.
Yeah, it might have been. I have great memories of sitting in a motorhome driving along with Ronan Morgan and Mark Lovell, and we just had a party. Between the stages, it was a party, and certainly the party was absolutely fantastic the last day in the Isle of Man. So.
Yeah, but there were some events then with like a Martin Ericsson. So I think you did
Martin Ericsson, Michael Ericsson's brother. Yeah. So again, this has all been. I've been so lucky in my life, just seemingly hitting the right notes all the time, and then by doing service plans for people, then I got known, and then we got chatting, and then they needed a co-driver, and I happened to be there at the right time, and it just sort of one thing led to another. So as I say, extremely lucky, and then that's, I suppose, the story of my life.
There can't be too many in the world of rallying that you don't know or don't have the contact details of. You think of rally organisers, you think of teams across lots of different disciplines, the raid stuff, the Dakar side of things. So organisers, competitors, co-drivers, yeah. And
I've been very lucky, Trevor. Yeah.
But the type of person you are, you're personable, you're approachable, and you're helpful. So those are the things that clearly will stand out. So you started to do Middle East rallies at that point as well, and didn't you? With was it Ahmed Maktoum?
Well, no. What happened again? All these things came, and we didn't really have mobile phones in these days, and you got a phone call. I got a phone call from Jonathan Lord from the Scottish.
This was around about 1990 then, 89, 90.
It would have been, yes. It would have been, yeah. And Jonathan said, I've got an Arab guy coming over. Would you like to co-drive? Yeah, why not? So it turned out that he was the son of the ruler, Ahmed Maktoum.
Yes.
Who was a fighter pilot in real life. And
I don't remember this story.
No, well, he was. So he was contracted to Mitsubishi in Middle East, and they brought this ropey old car over anyway, and off we went. And
it was a Pajero, was it, or what?
No, it was a Mitsubishi Galant, I think.
Oh, it was proper Galant.
A proper rally, yeah. It was the Scottish rally, where it was quite foggy and everything. But a funny thing happened halfway through the rally. So we were coming in. I mean, God, here's me. I shouldn't be saying these things because now I'm trying to run a rally, and I have written I've done a few things.
You've been creative. You've been creative with the roads.
Creative, yeah. So coming into Parc Fermé after the first day, and we were lying in some crazy position, like 6th overall, and it was wonderful, absolutely great. And the Parc Fermé was underneath one of these high-rise blocks of flat buildings. So it was a parking place. So you stop there, give your time card in, drive down underneath. And as we were just coming into the time control, the radio came on, and it was, Bobby, could you just check the battery connections tight, because we're not sure we did the battery properly. I don't think I've ever told anybody this story. So I hope we're not.
That's all right. Nobody's listening.
Yeah. So we were on this slope down, and of course we were in the time control, so we couldn't do anything. So in we got, Parc Fermé, left the car, came up, and they said, did you check it? No, we couldn't do it. We're too late. So the next morning, sure enough, we got in the car, and we were under this gigantic, 50-floor building. in the car park at the bottom. And the key was like click, click. I'm sure you remember that noise. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So we're now in Park Ferme, and all the drivers coming, and here's this pipsqueak Bobby Willis there. And I never forget, I said to Ahmed, this is going to be a bit messy, but just ride with me, and we'll be all right. And you may have seen the Faulty Towers episode, and honestly, I don't remember if it came from that at all, but I remember saying, I smell smoke.
I'm going to grab a branch of a tree.
Smoke. There's a fire. There must be a fire. And of course, in this full-scale panic, and Phil Short was there, and all these guys were looking at me walking around in circles saying, Marshall, come here, the car's going to catch fire. And of course, we had to check. They opened the bonnet, and I put my hand inside, and I said, I'm sure oh, well, goodness me, the car did start. And we got out, and it was straight into fog and everything. It was, I mean, my reputation, I'm sure, was shot to pieces if there ever was one at the time. But but funnily enough, after I think we were lying in the top 6 anyway in this car with this Arab driver who'd never seen fog before. It was just a dream come true. Unfortunately, we did get paid back because the car caught fire and
karma,
in the forest. So
I think it would have been a better Faulty Towers story if you had gone outside, grabbed a branch, and thrashed the car. Far better one.
Well. Anyway, so luckily I was then kind of flavor of the month with Mitsubishi Middle East, and was brought over to do a lot of rallies over there. Then, and it sort of opened the doors for me with both cross-country Pajero type rallies, and also then doing events with different drivers, many of whom didn't speak any English at all. So interesting times.
Yeah, so that would have been Michael Orr was talking to us in his podcast about doing rallies in Ukraine with a driver who only spoke Russian as well, you know. And that's what you had to do then, clearly.
Yeah, of course. And, I suppose it's all good grounding for life as well as anything else. So, definitely a great time. And it led on to so many opportunities, not least of which a great friend of mine now, Abdullah Bakashab, a Saudi guy, had won some competition in rallying and run by Marlboro Cigarettes in Saudi, and the winner of this competition was then given a drive in the Middle East Championship, and there was a Range Rover was involved at the time, and we went and started together. And the guy was really talented lad, American educated, but didn't again speak a lot of English at the time. But in those days, you went off for 1 week long recces, and you kind of learned how to get on with each other. And we used, I think, 4 numbers. As far as I remember, it was like 1, 3, 5, and 9. And 9 was a 90 degree, and 1 was a 10 degree. So it worked really well, and we got on like a house on fire, Abdullah and I, and that led on to many, many years of having not only a lot of fun, but a lot of travel and a lot of experience with him around the Middle East Championship, where he won the championship, and indeed getting into cross-country rallies sponsored by Marlboro, which were very big in the Middle East at the time. They wanted us to go in and do the major cross-country event, which was called the Dubai Desert Challenge. So I think the decision, one of the rallies was very late, and I remember bringing out most of the Range Rover parts in luggage, hand luggage, and luggage in the aeroplane when I was going out to do the event, and they kitted this thing together. And we had a great time in that time.
But again, repaying a lot of the favours, one thing I remember about your relationship with Abdullah is the number of people from the UK you got involved to help out as well. Niall spoke about it last week. I know Martin Rowe and Paul Nagel were doing gravel notes for you.
Yeah,
Lots of people got involved. So again, your thinking behind that was just to give these young kids opportunity to experience World Championship events. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and really important. I think Paul's first time working on a rally was with us in San Remo. I think
it was San Remo. It was the Italian round. Yeah, because
it was. Yeah, and he was our gravel crew at the time.
Yeah,
but wonderful, and that of course was the time when GPSs were coming in, because I know we've talked before about GPS and using them, and we were allowed to have, basically it was a point-to-point rally where we were given a road book to follow, but how you got between the points was not so well checked, I suppose. There were no trackers in those days, so we were allowed to go and recce. So we recce'd for 2 weeks. We made proper pace notes on the rally. We found a couple of slightly shorter routes, I suppose you could say, which was part of the game in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And off we went. And I can't remember which one, but I think I gave you a picture of Saeed Al-Hadri there, which Saeed was a lovely guy. And Saeed Al-Hadri, who competed in Ireland with John Spiller quite a few times.
Yeah, definitely.
And there was one time that Saeed told us that he had found a slightly shorter route. And of course, we'd been looking for shorter routes the whole time, but couldn't find any. But that in that picture there was when he was actually telling us. He wouldn't tell us before in case we told somebody and it was stopped.
Uh-huh.
And I'm quite sure I shouldn't be telling these stories, but I will anyway. But I remember actually at that time, he told us that when you get down to that gate on that particular part of the route, if you turn left beside the fence, and we'll be going this way ourselves, just follow our tracks, you'll be fine. So we turned left at the gate and there were no tracks. And you keep going, and you think you're lost, but keep going until you find this great big water tank in the desert. And you'll go on and you'll say you're lost, but don't stop. Keep going until you get there. And then turn right and follow your nose and you'll get to the control. Of course, two young, gullible guys did exactly that. But there were no tracks.
Done up like a kipper.
Completely. But, well, he had broken down or had a problem, I think, beforehand. So he hadn't shown us the way to go. But we went along, and we thought we got lost. So we said we'd turn right here and got completely stuck, completely buried in the car. And it was only the luck of having brought one of the early GPSs at the time that we had in the car with us. So we got back onto the route and we still managed to finish quite well. But that was a big lesson about taking routes you maybe shouldn't have been taking.
That was the Dubai Desert Challenge '93 then. That would have been
it would have been, yeah. Absolutely.
I just want to go back a couple of years though, because there's a pivotal moment when you opened Card Valley with Ian, yeah. So that was quite innovative at the time because there was no other karting centre opened in
Ireland.
The island, I don't think,
No, absolutely.
What's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, Trevor, that came from doing the Baja Aragon race with a guy called Abbas Al-Masawi, where we went down to, again, Mitsubishi Rally Art Middle East, brought the car across a Pajero across to do this event with this Dubai driver, who's a great driver. And we had some days beforehand we went karting. I'd never been karting before.
This is in Aragon in Spain.
This is in Spain, yeah. So we went karting, and I mean, we were there nearly the whole day. That was a little bit later, that one there.
That was 92 then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
that one
there. So that was us in our kit, ready to go to a rally, and we had days to fill, so we went off there and did this, and again I enjoyed it so much, and then thought, well, maybe we could do something like this in Ireland. And there was a place in London who'd already opened, and basically we tried it, did a lot of research, and Ian Besant, who you may or may not know,
I know Ian well, of course,
knocked on the door one day looking for a job. He just lost his job, and I said, I've got an idea. Well, we try and do it, and we did it, and it worked, and we were the first indoor kart track in Ireland, and massively successful. Those karts, yeah, that was a 2-engine one. That one, but, yeah. So that was fun, and that was a great part of my life. Yeah, but
that would have been 91. Then you opened that, yeah, I think.
Yeah, and that picture was a 92 photograph. So yeah, you're right, and that's right. So and we actually used that to good effect when Abdullah came over to do a rally in Ireland. Clare stages it was.
Clare, yeah, tarmac test, our training, wasn't it? I suppose
it was, yeah, because we were going to Lebanon, so it was a good idea. So basically, I came up with the idea, seeing that that's the result of our training. Thank you, Kenny.
Needed to train more. I remember
that was another Kenny McKinstry story. Yeah. But I came up with an idea that karting actually would work quite well for Abdullah to learn tarmac lines.
Yeah.
And Lebanon was such a key event for the sponsors that we needed to do everything. So he came over to practice on tarmac. Of course, it was wet tarmac, which was really, really difficult for him because he'd never been on it before. But the karting worked very well for him, he said afterwards, and that was a great benefit. But that was Kenny McKinstry's car. We went down to Clare stages and made another mess of a good car.
The bit we didn't mention was the Camel Trophy again, working with Terry. So that was over what, 5 years? That would have been then 88.
Yes, it would have been. And Terry asked me to come over because they had a lot of people working with them, but there were no navigators, and there was a little bit of navigation and average speed work, which was included in Camel Trophy, and basically
just for those people who know nothing about the Camel Trophy, just give us the concept in a couple of sentences.
Well, I suppose another cigarette company sponsored this event of the big Land Rovers. So there would have been 20 Land Rovers from 20 different countries. Russia had a team, and all kinds of different teams came from across the world, and they all went to some incredibly remote area, like Lake Baikal one year, and then Indonesia another year. And Terry Harriman went out and made the routes and did a lot of work with them. But there was a need for training, and certainly any of the teams who wanted to do well, like Britain, had to do all kinds of physical training. I stayed well away from, but certainly the navigation and average speed work, we did a lot of training together. And luckily enough, they did good deeds along the way and fixed bridges for people and learned how to ford rivers and do all kinds of things. So that's what Camel Trophy was. And the British team they won the second year I was working with them, which worked very well for them. And obviously it was quite lucky for me as well. So
Bob and Joe Ives win the Camel.
Bob and Joe Ives, do you know them?
No, I don't know at all. Remember.
They're lovely guys. Lovely guys. Yeah.
Okay, so what else are we going to? That's we jumped past that when we were talking about Abdullah Bakashab then, who Sean O'Connor introduced you. Sean O'Connor has come up a lot in your life, I suppose, over the years as well.
Absolutely.
So just explain for people again. This is an Irish audience, so explain who Sean is and what his influence has been, and Ronan Morgan, I suppose, too.
And Ronan Morgan, yeah. So Sean, I will probably get it wrong, but as far as I know, he was in marketing, and he was working along with the sponsors, and he's an incredible brain on Sean, and basically Sean came up with concepts of ways, for instance, rallying and things like that. So he ran the competition, or was involved with the competition for Abdullah. Then found a co-driver, was another Irish guy, and that was me. And I suppose, so Sean, who I would have crossed or come across and known a lot over those days with various different events that he was doing, he would be very good friends with Ronan Morgan, who's another, obviously wonderful Irish co-driver, of Fred Gallagher's ilk and time, and certainly Ronan has won. I think he's won more rallies as a co-driver than any other co-driver has, having had massive success.
A lot of it, Mohammed bin Sulayem, of course, and Middle East Championships and won titles, regional titles that he would have won with those.
Absolutely. Guys. But he was co-driver for Billy Coleman and things as well.
He was, afterwards.
So he goes well back. Yeah. So, I mean, Sean, I suppose, found me a job, and it seemed to work really well with us all working together. And although I wasn't really involved with Sean so much, I was put in the job, and then we worked with the sponsors and indeed Abdullah from then on.
Yeah, and of course we talked about Rally Ireland. Sean and Ronan, of course, were the instigators of Rally Ireland, who you worked alongside as well with the Stormont element in the Northern Ireland.
Absolutely. So I would have worked with them making the road books as well, and the run-ups, and indeed Gordy Noble was involved then as well.
Yeah.
So that's where, I mean, I haven't seen Sean for a long time now, but he's and indeed Ronan, I think they're still working a lot out in the Middle East. So.
They are, yeah. I was having a conversation the other day, and his name came up a few times in it. So yeah, he's still very involved in motorsport.
Very, very good guys.
Yeah. Okay. So then 1994 really was the big battle with John Louis Slesher in the Desert Challenge. That was
So John Louis Slesher, who was an ex-Formula One driver. But
this is who Fred's talked about this guy as well, because
yes. He top level guy in rallying, and he was very well known for driving on his own in his one-man buggies. He made his own buggies in the south of France. Incredible engineer, wonderful guy, and basically he came out to do the Desert Challenge the year after the year we got stuck, and we were doing quite well on the rally, and I think on the last day of the rally he had equipment failure. I think it was his GPS or something had got broken.
Yeah.
So he was about, for instance, 6 minutes in front of us, who was lying second in the rally. So all he needed to do was get behind us and follow us and drop 2 minutes. But then there were all kinds of controls and stops along the way of the route that meant we could get away. But we were failing with this because he was so quick, and he kept catching us up and then following us.
Shake him off.
Well, we tried. So we stopped a couple of times to scare him, and he stayed with us because he knew he was so clever. He had it all worked out. And then we went up wrong alleyways straight after the time control, so he went past and got lost. But he caught us up again. And it was just fantastic fun. But at the end of the rally, he came up to me and he said, I've never played with anyone as much as in the mind games that we were playing to try and get away with. We wanted our goal and he wanted his, but he won it. But during the prize giving celebrations, he said, have you ever done Dakar Rally? And of course, Dakar Rally is one of the biggest opportunities ever. And I've only done some small cross-country rallies in various countries, but never anything like Dakar. And he said, I think you'd be good. Why don't you try it? And I said, I'd love to try it. Well, let's see. Could you get another passport? This was in November. So
this is for the 95 Dakar, wasn't it?
For 95 Dakar.
Start in Granada.
Yeah.
Okay. And
so
south of Spain.
So I mean, I'm sitting in Middle East in November with a rally taking place on the 1st of January that he hasn't got a co-driver for. And of course, the answer is yes, but you had quite a lot of work to learn and understand and things like that. So I stayed 2 weeks down in the south of France with them, working on the computer programs and learning how to navigate. And I think if you've spoken to Fred, he'll tell you that navigation was very different in those days. They had incredible equipment in their Citroens, which were GPSs with all the gizmos. We had a system that we marked a map up with a special machine that you dot along the line, and then you try to follow those dots.
I thought you were going to tell me the sextant.
No. It was nearly like that, but they had that. They had a lot more, but basically there was about 5 top cars at Citroens and Harry Vatman's and all these people, and then we were the best car behind. And the first stage was a stage in Spain, I think, and it was very, very slippery and muddy. We got hopelessly stuck. The second stage, I got completely lost right at the beginning, and I was nearly ready to kill myself. That's Dakar. Yeah. And Jean-Louis Slesher and me with a big bum on the right.
Uh-huh.
But it was that particular stage we broke down on at the very last time control, so we had to wait for all the people to leave because we weren't allowed to be towed. But once they all left, that was the rally organizer standing there. So we just said we were just waiting because we'd run out of water or something.
Yeah.
And then they all left and flew away, and we were able to get a nice local guy to tow us to the bivouac that evening. But Jean-Louis, yeah, it was great. And it was funny because, again, when you do a Dakar like that for the first time, and that was 10,000 kilometers, that event, people really don't understand. I'm sure Fred has told you all about how big and tough those events were, but my goodness, they were really, really difficult events. But
we didn't get into the detail apart from the fact that he used to feed Timo Salin and lots of cigarettes on stages.
That would be him. Yeah, exactly.
Just give us a flavour then of just how challenging it was, Bobby.
Okay, well, if you could think of the hardest event you've ever been involved in, whatever event it is, and treble it, that's the sort of challenge it is.
Circuit of Ireland, 1983, over 5 days, 55 stages. It was my hardest rally ever.
Okay, treble it, and then do it with no sleep. It was just incredible. And there's a couple of things that I'll never forget about it. First of all, there was one time that we were in the middle of the rally, and I suppose we don't have Ofcom on this, so I can say what happened.
You can.
Yeah. So again, the electrics and everything weren't the same. So we had a Peltor intercom in the car, and there was a guy came along one night and picked up. So I was working in the car, feeding in all these GPS points that I had to go to, and as I did for 4 hours every evening. And the guy came and picked up Jean-Louis' helmet, which was always left in the car, and took it out. And I said, "Well, don't need that back in here." And, "Oh, no, we need to fit a microphone to it. We think we're going to fit a microphone." I went, "If you're doing anything, you leave the helmet in the car, because obviously you lose your helmet, that's you out of the rally." And it was pretty serious, that sort of thing. So they were fiddling around inside the car, and they were saying we might put a camera in, but I don't think we're going to do it. Anyway, I finished up my work, and that was it. So the next day, we were buzzing along a special stage, and the helicopter flying on these rallies is just incredible. And they fly from behind you up the front, and then right up high in the air, and then turn up down, and then come down and round in front of you again, and just unbelievable. And you're driving along whatever 400, 500 Ks in a special stage, and you're watching this helicopter coming along, and then he's coming beside you, and he goes sideways and backwards and loop to loops and everything. And I said to him, I said, Jean-Louis, if he does that again, I'm going to have an orgasm. It's going to be like, this is going to be incredible. No, because your head is you're so into rally. You can't think of anything except for what you have to concentrate on. And we got back. Everybody was clapping me when I got out of the car. Apparently, it was live TV from the helicopter.
Right.
My old Presbyterian grandmother was watching Dakar, and it was on that even. It was just awful, but it came across quite funny. But there were, that was a funny thing. Another one was a motorbike coming through. If I may just tell you this quick one. Yeah. And this is the first Dakar, and I'd never been involved in anything quite as big as this. And I remember one time that Jean-Louis said, look, I've got to stop. I've got to have a pee. And so we stopped because we were in a different rally from the top four-wheel drive cars. So there was no pressure for us. I got out and was walking around.
Jean-Louis had some pressure.
Yeah, well, he did. But he was an old man. So that's it. So I got out and was walking around, and there was a motorbike coming towards us. And he stopped in absolutely like quicksand, just dug in. And you could see the guy was absolutely wrecked. These guys were heroes, how they drove. Incredibly strong people. And you have to seesaw the bike and get it up and then start the thing and move on. And then he got bogged down again. So I ran down to help him. It was a couple of 100 yards. So I ran all the way down and helped him get this bike, which was nearly as tall as me, out of the sand. And he got it up and off he went, and then got bogged down again. So I ran after him, and he was Gauloise, the cigarette. Here's a non-smoker being sponsored by all these smoking.
Yeah.
So basically he got stuck again. I picked him up and pushed him out, and off he went. And then we carried on a rally and finished the stage. And the guy came up to me, and this was about day 7 of the rally. And he says, thank you for helping me today. And I said, no problem.
Here's a packet of fags.
He said to me, I couldn't have finished without you. Why? I said, well, you're fit and you're doing well. He says, the problem is I broke 4 bones in my hand the day before the rally started. This guy, who turns out to be the main marketing manager of Yamaha motorbikes in France, this guy was riding almost one-handed Dakar rally. I mean, to see the strength of mind for these people was just something special. And I think from doing those sort of rallies, you learn something a bit different from just how you need to be dedicated to do the events and to go forward.
And how to look for solutions all the time. Don't worry about the challenge. Find the solutions.
Absolutely right.
That's what you have to do in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, that rally ended pretty badly because our truck broke a spring, and then we broke down the next day, and the truck meant to be following us, so we didn't finish the event. But that's the way it is.
Yeah. So wasn't there a story of a minefield or something? Was that
the minefield? So yes, we're driving along, and again, it's a long day. But we've been warned. You have a briefing every night beforehand, and they tell you where you be careful. Navigation is difficult here, but for one section, it's probably driving along the side of Algeria border or something like this. And they said, whatever you do, stick to the track. Don't go off the track at all, because the sides are all mines in it. Yeah, okay, no problem. So off we go the next day.
Won't it?
It does, especially when you're in a fiberglass buggy, And we're driving along 1,000,000 miles an hour in the middle of nowhere, and as usual, it's sort of 300 meters, keep to the right of the fork, and then 200 meters, 100, keep right, and off he goes left. And I said, no, keep right. You're meant to go right. No, I can see the dust of the car in front. So there's this jalopy somewhere, 2 kilometers in front. He's going that way. I said, you can't go here. This is a minefield. And we're driving at 150 kilometers an hour across this open desert. No, it's fine. He's like, and Jean-Louis was a really clever engineer. And what he said to me was, Bobby, relax. I'll never forget. He put his hand on my knee and said, just relax. He says, no problem. if a mine goes off, those mines are built for lorries, not cars doing 150 kilometers an hour. So no problem. It'll go off behind us.
That definitely would have been reassuring to you.
Yeah, well, it was, except there was a great big rocky patch coming up in front. Anyway, we lived, so it was fine. But it's just incredible way of working with these guys is to just don't think about danger, just go.
And how was his English, John Louis?
John Louis is fantastic. Absolutely right, okay. Fantastic. Yeah, great. No problem with John Louis.
But you definitely needed French to do the Dakar back then as regards regulations and...
Yeah, I was with a French team, so it worked quite well. And then the second year I did Dakar, it worked okay because, again, with a French team. And the third year, the driver told me as we were leaving the start that we would speak French, which was quite good because now I speak a little bit of French.
Yeah.
But it was pretty horrendous at the time. But we finished Dakar the third time, so that's not so bad.
Okay. Incredible to finish Dakar, the proper Dakar back then, you know.
It was. And we were in the big, it was a buggy, a Volkswagen buggy. It was the concept car before the Touareg came along. And there were four of us. Jutta Kleinschmidt was another of the drivers, and Dieter Depping, who drove the Volkswagen Touareg on the circuit. He was another one. He got pretty badly injured in the crash, but so we made a plan. At least I'd had some success or some experience with Dakar, so we made a plan to try and go 85%, 90%, and not get punches, etc. And it seemed to work. And so we're lucky enough to get 6th overall in the rally, which was the all-time dream for me in 2005. So
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It's just amazing. And one of the things about an event like Dakar is you realize, like, I know I'm small and forget about all the puns on that, but when you're in a desert driving in one direction for 500 kilometers or 600 kilometers, and it's only desert and you don't see anybody at all, you kind of realize how small in this world you really are and how important these major catastrophes and problems that you have in your body are, because they're nothing compared to life. It's just a big world out there.
Mad.
Yeah.
So that was it then, from 95 to 2000. So 2000 you go back. So what we left out as well, you stopped co-driving Abdullah. When would that have been? That's probably 92, was it?
Yeah.
So you done 8 years with Abdullah, I think.
Yeah, we did. And then basically we were now into World Championship. We had an accident on the first stage of Portugal, which Abdullah agreed wasn't my fault. It was like there was only one note, and it was a fast left-hand bend, and we went straight on. And he actually, it was something. I think the pressure got to Abdullah. But anyway, they decided that Arne Hertz would be the better co-driver to come in, and they took me out, which meant having just backed out of Kart Valley, because I now had a full-time career in motorsport, I was looking for more work. But so what? That's life, and that's what happens. But then, luckily enough, Arne Hertz didn't really work. They got beef. Michael Park came in, great friend of mine, and he was asked to go in and sit in there, but he lasted for 1 year, and then he went on to sit with Marco Martin, and then Abdullah asked me to come back, which was great. So we were back again. But
that would have been 2000 then, as I said. So that was World Championship rallies again, 7 rounds in the WRC then.
No, it was, and then also Middle East then started to come in again as well. So.
Right.
We did do the WRC rallies. Was it for 1 year? I honestly.
You did. 2001 is when we met up again, because you were co-driving Abdullah in the Step 2 Corolla, and of course Grafoni were the Umbrella brand. So we were in the 206 World Rally Car. Cyprus was the first rally we did together, I think. So we were basically all in the same team, effectively. So you were in the Corolla, we were in the 206 in our first rally, in the 206 World Rally Car. That's the event. Remember Nicolino? Remember the story about Nicolino? Where
he had a really,
so Cyprus was a bit of an odd one. There was all those crashes in the recce in Cyprus. And the reason being that in normal WRC events, you get into a left-hand drive recce car and off you go, driving down the right-hand side of the road. But of course, when you're in Cyprus, you drive on the left-hand side of the road. And that's what happened. Nicolino, I remember leaving the pre-event test, and he came off the test, moved out on the main road and drove down the road.
Stayed on the right-hand side.
On the wrong side. I remember Alistair McRae having a crash in the Missile, the same thing. Come out of the hotel, turned the wrong way onto a dual carriageway, and it's easy done because automatically you get on the left-hand side, you drive on that side. Absolutely.
So
that was 2001, where you were doing a mix probably then of world events in the Middle East Championship, which is really important to Abdullah and all those guys.
And I did also do. I did a Dakar rally with the second time with an Israeli driver, which was a little bit of a political issue, I suppose, sitting with Abdullah, who's obviously from Saudi. So, but we got through that okay and no problem, and it was great, and we, I suppose, would say it would be fair to say we had probably a bit of a clash of personalities in the car with the driver and co-driver, but basically we ran out of petrol on one day, mainly because we probably stayed in first gear for most of the special stage rather than... Anyway, whatever, it happened. And this was the year that basically we then got a lift. That was a car. And I never forget the driver saying, just burn the car, we don't need it, just burn it. And I said, no way, we'll just drive back. So I met up with that bunch of guys, the four guys. Now the driver was about 7'10". He was enormous and they couldn't move the seat. So I never forget, I drove that car. The guy on my left, the curly hair, was an international yachtsman who'd retired, and they needed their car towed. And we had I think a 3-day drive cross country, right across the desert, just going with my funny old GPS to get back to Senegal and Dakar. And the other guy on my right, I beg your pardon, the black hair and the white T-shirt, he was a motorbike rider. So the four of us set off to Dakar on a shortcut. And what an adventure that was. Just great. But I was sitting driving this car on the last 2 inches of the seat because I had all my bags behind me so I could reach the pedals. But then when we got to Dakar, we're sitting around saying, well, the rally's going to take another 5 days to get here. What are we going to do? And those French guys, of course, they speak French in Senegal, said, well, we're going to hire a plane. So we can't just hire a plane. So off they went and spoke to the army and hired that plane. And the next thing we took off and went back to join Dakar again, which was an incredible experience. Flying back to the rally and all the mates there and having great crack again. And that night, so we said we'd just stay the night. And that night, the raiders came and stopped the caravan of the rally as it was going along. And it was pretty nasty. They stole cars and stole money from people. And these were the guys who came in to try and find the raiders. But unfortunately, they commissioned our aeroplane as well, which we paid good money for. And off they went to find the guys. So that was the sort of the police who came in. But I'll never forget this Japanese woman who was doing the rally, and she had lost everything. Her bag had been taken and all her money had been taken. And I gave her my coat because we were going to get back the next day. But that was just a scary, scary time with it, pretty nasty. And Dakar was getting a bit difficult in those days with these raiders and people stealing things. And it was bad enough in the bivouac where people would steal the eye out of your head if you had half a chance. But certainly those when they actually stopped the rally itself and held people up at gunpoint and things like that. So yeah, we were okay.
But
we
you
missed
knew
that,
all the
but
danger and you still wanted to do it. Like, so this is 2001. We're talking about 20 years ago.
yeah. Well, it got very bad further on in the line, when we were all waiting to go to Dakar, and they cancelled it the day before the rally, and that was really a big security problem at the time. And that was the last time they went to Africa on the rally. But yeah, so I mean, we were stuck out in the desert for 2 days, and they eventually sent some truck, I think it was, and then we got a plane, and we eventually got back. But yeah.
I want to quickly go back to 1998 to have a look at this. So explain
1998.
This is in Oman, was it?
That was how we didn't, in the Middle East Championship, we didn't have any maps, so it was really very difficult to know where the stages were coming out and everything. And a lovely guy called Tom Steele and I worked together, and we did the measurements, and he drew the maps, and basically we did this to give an idea of where the service vans would go. And I just thought I should send that to you for interest's sake, of how we could manage to know where to put the vans, and what actually happened at the end of, where to park, or which roundabout to park, or which flyover to park.
I'm loving the wheel here in the top right.
Yeah.
So that was day one. What else? What have we got? Oh, it's the same thing.
I think that was just how we made the maps together. But that was the only way that we could get the vans to come out to know where to get to. There was no way you could manage other than doing that way.
Amazing, isn't it? So then, Greece 2001. This is at Abdullah. So this is the year we talked about. That's the photo we used. And then the Abu Dhabi Challenge. I think that's quite a nice photo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then 2003,
so
I think Nasser Al Attiyah.
Nasser Al Attiyah, who you would remember, I think.
And
Abdullah.
Against Nasser.
And that year we were given, I think it was the first Peugeot 206 to be allowed out of the company. That one there, and it was a full works car that we were allowed to use. I suppose the sponsor we had was also sponsoring Peugeot at the time. So
this was Lebanon,
Lebanon, yeah. And so they let us have this car on pain of death of even scratching the thing. We did a little bit more than scratch it, unfortunately. It was a very, very fast car, and we weren't given enough practice with it. So it was funny because Jean-Pierre Nicolas was the team manager at the time. For
Peugeot Sport,
Peugeot, sorry, And he then cropped up again in the days of the ERC rallies.
Of course.
And we had a fantastic laugh. He had a great sense of humor. So we talked about that one incident, because that was a difficult phone call for, I think I had to make it because Abdullah wouldn't make it. Sorry.
No better, man.
Damn it, we scratched your car.
So this is 2003 as well, then. So
that was 2003 again. That was the final Dakar I did, where, to be honest, when we finished that rally, I knew that probably it was time to start thinking of slowing down on the traveling and the hotels. And I think most people who've been doing this sort of amount of traveling get tired of it sometime or another, and I knew that was it. When we finished that rally and we were 6th overall and first 2-wheel drive car, it was like, we can't do any better than this. So time to start thinking of the future.
Yeah, but then 2004, the Morocco rally with Jutta Kleinsmith.
Jutta,
sorry.
Jutta Kleinsmith is she was the lady who won Dakar, the only female who's won Dakar. A lovely German girl. She's ridden Dakar on a motorbike and things like that. And this car was, it sort of came out of the Touareg planning, which was obviously 2-wheel drive. But this car then came in as a 4-wheel drive monster. And it was just so good to be involved in the testing and things like that.
So this is brand new team, Bobby, wasn't it?
It was set up in Hanover, and it was a proper full team. It was nothing to do with World Championship Rally at the time, and this was a cross country, and I think they won it the Dakar Rally many years, because it is such a big event and it's a great marketing symbol too. So yes, I did one rally with U-Turn in Morocco with that car there, which was fantastic, and then basically stayed with the team and worked with them well, it was a funny thing that started because basically with Dakar Rally, the routes are given out in a road book form, and we were quite a well-funded team, so I was able to put some of my map work that I experienced with working to work out where the routes of the rally was going, to be able to help the co-drivers, to give them ideas of what sort of things to find, as in where they're going to be down valleys and things like that. And that moved on. That was a sort of black art in the day of what was called a map man. And the map man really just was I suppose, a spare co-driver in case one of the others had a problem before the event, but also was very much giving experience of heights and things like that you work out on information gleaned from maps and Google Earth and things like that. So I stayed with Volkswagen for a long time, many years, working with them and traveling around various Dakars to South America and indeed doing some PR work with them on other events as well, which was just a really wonderful opportunity to do that.
That would have took you up to 2011, probably 7 years in working as management as part of Dakar. But your involvement with Dakar continued. You know, you talk about the night shift then, I suppose.
The night shift, it was, big time.
Just explain that and what you were actually doing then. So the regulations changed. So for reverse engineers, regulations changed this year where you only got the route 15 minutes before you set off on the day. Prior to that, you got it the night before. Yeah, is that roughly it?
Yeah. So what happened in my day traveling with the team? So I would have basically moved around, set up an office in a hotel, and that was sort of one of my jobs. And then I worked the night shift, as you quite rightly say. So the road book's given out, I think they were usually given the road book as they finished the stage. So the co-driver would come back, hand me his road book. I would photograph it and give it back to him. And then I worked on the road book, plotting the route as much as I could. And there was no gain as such. We weren't doing any cheating or anything like that because they had to follow the route. And there was nothing on that. But the information that we gained was information for the co-drivers that after 50, 70 kilometers, they'd be coming into a green valley, which I gather that from the satellite mapping that I had control of, which basically came in before Google Earth started. So I had many maps and many bits of information, and funnily enough, one of the trucks, they eventually made me an office in the back of the truck. So I had my own photocopiers and printers and everything like that to do this job overnight. And so that was great. And then obviously that sort of went on as days have gone recently. With Google Earth, they don't need to travel the map men so much. But by then, again, it's a really hard job working overnight here when they finish there, and you're having to get the route back to them by 5 o'clock our time in Ireland, back to them before they start the next day. So I'd sort of lost the shine on that one.
No surprise.
But, I mean, it's great working with winning teams and doing this sort of thing, Trevor. But at the end of the day, you get, even working here, you get tired. One week I got 2 speeding tickets from a radar that's set up for the last 20 years just down the road from me, just because I'm too tired. I'm trying to run rally maps as well and all that sort of thing. But it was great job when it worked. But also there was other jobs we had in South America. Sometimes we had a rest day, and it would have been my job to go out and find a special stage for them to test on and indeed take the press out to do that. And I remember, goodness me, it was the north of Chile, and we were right up on the border of Chile, and we I was sent out. We went and found a fantastic place, and there were all these wells, little wells around the place, like round circles. And we made a route, went through that. And next day we came back and made another route. And, obviously the drivers don't have co-drivers. They're pressing the car and they would get lost. So then you have to paint the route. And we spent 3 solid days getting this all done. Beautiful, everything done. And we finished this, I don't know, 10 or 15 kilometer route round a river and everything like that. And as we finished, I had a young Spanish guy with me as an interpreter, and he drove me about while I made the road routes and things like this. And we got to the finish, and all these police rushed around us and circled us in our big Volkswagen van, from Hanover. And I didn't know what they were talking about. Anyway, they came over and, how are you doing, mate? And you like some water? And they were livid with us. And we were in the middle of another minefield, making a route for these guys to test. And did you not see the red flag? Like, there was one red flag amongst 50,000 other coloured flags and plastic bags. There was one red flag. We didn't know. They weren't mines. They weren't wells. They were actually pillboxes where people were shooting from. I mean, it was a proper war. I looked it up. It was a proper war. I mean, they were not pleased with us. But anyway, it was all good fun at the time.
Yeah. So the last rally really in the co-driver seat was the Silkway Rally. So this is
I didn't. I gave you those pictures there because Silkway Rally was a very interesting rally. We started St. Petersburg and I think ended in a place called Sochi, which is where the Grand Prix is.
And the Olympics, Winter Olympics as well.
Olympics, and indeed where the president was there and he lives there. And he gave a speech one night, and it was one time, where, I mean, incredible. All the cars, the whole rally was searched with dogs and checked over because he was about. But two of the nights we stayed in this in the places. Now there was a war where Russia. Anyway, there was thousands of those helicopters, thousands helicopter gunships just parked around the place where the rally was based. We weren't allowed to take photographs, but one fell into my possession, of course. But it was unbelievable. That some of them had propellers taken off, and some didn't have guns. But honestly, thousands of those parked up in 2 separate places. So probably just as well you weren't allowed to take pictures.
Yeah, good. You didn't do that.
Very, very interesting. And one night, Russia was a crazy place for us because, again, when you don't speak English, it's really difficult. Oh, sorry, when I don't speak Russian, my fault.
Yeah.
One night I woke up in the morning really early because there was a hell of a noise going on outside, and there was a bear in a pen parked outside my window. This bear was going bonkers. But anyway, that was one thing. And then I remember I didn't really help my future very well because I filled up the car trying to be helpful with diesel, and the team manager was in the car, Chris Nissen, and everything, and I was trying to be really helpful, and I was up early, so I did it all. Of course, put petrol in the car, which didn't go down wonderfully well.
Not good.
Yeah.
I went backpacking. I went backpacking in Russia in 1991.
Did you?
For about 6 weeks. So we came from Beijing on the Trans-Siberian train.
Beijing. Fantastic, yes.
Six days and nights on the train. Actually, mad story. So we found a way of getting onto the roof of the train. So you get out on the carriageway, climb up the side of it, and the top of it was absolutely filthy. So we'd sit up there and drink champagne, me and some Polish guys who I bumped into. But we're in the middle of nowhere in Siberia, and the train started to slow down. I thought, oh, geez. So it stopped, but we'd already got in, went to our bunks, and the train had stopped probably for 3/4 of an hour. And we were convinced they were going to come and find us and get us off in the middle of Siberia. But so that whole journey, everything about that, 6 days and nights with some Polish people drinking vodka on the Trans-Siberian train and stopping at Vladivostok and holding a T-shirt outside, which paid $2 in Australia, so it could pay back the Russians by the number of bottles of vodka we could get. Just It goes on and on.
Brilliant.
It's hilarious.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So
Great memories.
3.5 years of backpacking certainly gives you some stories, some ammunition to go through. But yeah.
For sure.
So then, Circuit of Ireland, really, we need to jump to. Surprisingly, Bobby, you know, when you said you'd never do 2 hours, we're 2.25 hours in now, so.
Crikey. Well, of course, I lost an hour because the power went off.
You did, yeah. Circuit of Ireland 2010, then, taking on
There's nobody watching now.
The rally. Oh,
they'll all be asleep.
There's plenty, don't you worry.
Yeah, 2010. Well, again, the Circuit of Ireland came because, I mean, it was my first rally. And again, I've been so lucky and, done all this traveling and maybe not put enough back into the sport. And I got talking with the Ulster Automobile Club actually at the time and said that, maybe I can help. And I think they were going through a very hard time. I think there were only, in 2009, there was something like 30 entries in the rally and it was gone. It was really in a hard place. And so they entrusted me to do it, which was very kind of them to trust me. But certainly we tried to bring in a few new ideas. And one of them was, of course, at that time, I had the great contacts with Volkswagen and they were prepared to do a marketing thing to help out and send the car over. And, one car that didn't need any fuel for the whole rally at all. I mean, and was half full when it went home. But yes, so Dieter came over with the car and Timo, the co-driver, is a great friend of mine now. So that was the thing. And certainly I suppose we started to try and find some new ideas and maybe new ways of working and trying to make things different.
Yeah.
Reinvigorate it a bit.
So that was 2010 then. So starting on Dundalk, I think.
Yeah, and then Armagh after that for a couple of
years. And then
I heard this guy, Trevor. There was a guy, Trevor, someone who used to live there, and I thought, my goodness, wouldn't it be great?
Yeah. That's definitely a good spot to position it in, yeah. But Armagh's stages, of course, I loved them.
That's fantastic, absolutely. So we based ourselves at the hotel there, and certainly it was great. And I mean, I suppose just building on from trying to do things a bit differently, as I said earlier on, we were able to bring in electric cars, Trevor, because Donnelly's were just launching electric cars. So we were the first rally to have electric zero car, or I don't know how you could word this, because it was supposed to be one car did the whole thing, but actually we swapped them.
Of course, you would have to, because the batteries wouldn't last very long then, yeah.
Yeah.
Range would have been minimal. What car
was
it?
Yeah, but Cathal Curley, oh, come on, that's far too technical. It was the small one, silver. Cathal Curley drove it, and he had a ball driving it around. And I mean, that's why the battery would only last about a stage. So that was it. But we managed to get a system doing on that sort of thing. And that kind of worked. I kind of worked to bring in new ideas and things. And obviously with new ideas, you get more publicity, and more publicity then makes it easier to get a sponsor. And obviously then you can start making the rally a little bit bigger, I suppose. So that was that second year, the 2012 event, was we also tried a super special in Belfast, which worked quite well as well, and started trying to make things a bit different.
Is that the Titanic quarter one? Yeah?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we made a special stage in beside Titanic there.
Yeah. Okay. And then the following year was the 2013 one, and that was a bit of a... That was
a nightmare. So we didn't get the money for it, Trevor. So we decided to carry on and make an Easter Stages rally, and we'd call it the Easter Stages rather than the Circuit of Ireland, because we'd already built the circuit up into an IRC event. And
yes.
So there's no point in bringing the name down again to a sort of one-day rally or whatever it was going to be, but it was a small rally. And I went off to Mallorca that year. I'd been offered, Steve Perez rang up and said, would I co-drove in the Stratus?
In the Stratus, wow.
The one car that I would so of course you don't say no to that. Off I went to do the rally. And that year in Mallorca was the first time it had snowed in Mallorca for I don't know, 1,000 years at this time. So, of course, Paddy and Steve were like, come on, we'll go up there. Don't worry about that sign. It can't be that bad. We'll just drive on, and went up this mountain, making notes the first day we got there in his BMW hire car, and got completely stuck in the snow. And, yeah, exactly. I mean, completely stupid thing to do, but we had a lot to do.
Let's get up there in the front engine rear wheel drive car. That'll make a load of sense.
Of course.
See, in Ireland, you'd have 100 weight of spuds in the boot of it, like you'd have went anywhere in it.
It didn't work. But Steve was great. To be fair, he was absolutely fantastic, and it was actually really frightening because the snow was coming down so heavily that the branches were falling off the trees, and you heard this bang and rip and bang, and luckily these forest workers came through in a snowplow and dragged us out, left the car there, but that was it. But unfortunately, 2 weeks later when I got home, it started to snow here, and we had sort of 3 meters of snow in some places in the Dromara Hills, which meant that we had to cancel the rally.
Didn't work.
Which was
bounced back well in 2014 then. That was the one as IRC then.
IRC and Ulster Television sponsored us.
Yes, you had the live street stage in Lisburn.
And also Newtonards.
Yeah, was it Lisburn where Mickelson went sideways into the bale?
It was. Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. Absolutely. So that was interesting, and but Ulster TV gave us lots of promotion and PR and things like that, and I think that all grew from working with Donnelly's and involving UTV a bit, and I mean it just worked, and so we got some good TV out of that, and indeed we started a little bit of live stream in those days, but I suppose 2015 was where it really took off in a big way. And
2015, I came over for it actually. Went spectating on it.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. I remember going to Titanic Quarter. Ryan Champion come over with a cup of tea with him and the family.
Yeah,
and I think Robert Woodside was doing the 9/11 that year as well.
He was, yeah, absolutely.
I remember it well. So the first stage was just outside down Patrick Balnahinch direction, I think.
It was,
I went to the stop line there, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But we had really good crowds. That year was really very, very cold. 2014 was incredible weather, and Newtonards stage was it was packed out, absolutely packed out. So that was a big success. Unfortunately, it didn't work the year after, but that's the vagaries of weather, and that was it. I mean, the Newtonards was incredible to see how many people came to a rally, and it was safe and it worked, and it really ticked the boxes.
It just shows you how it can happen, like, can't it? We used that again in 2016, of course.
We did, yeah. But it was so cold in 2016 that it didn't really work as well, unfortunately.
2015, you mean, yeah.
Sorry, 2015, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So 2016 was then into the big boy stuff where we had other bigger plans on that.
So that was European Championship, British Championship, an absolute rake of R5 cars, huge competition.
I do believe that Monza last year was slightly more than the amount of cars we had, but we held the record until last year of the most R5 cars on an event, which was incredible. It was 2016 was the pinnacle for me so far of being involved in motorsport.
So far, I like that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look and see what people are saying then, Bob. So
if
Ron
they're still
Neely,
there.
Ron Neely's there. Bobby, pure rally man, gentleman also. Ron can tell an odd story too. Derek Smith is saying hello to him. Look who was here about an hour ago. She's probably in bed now.
Lovely Bex.
Bex. I didn't hear dulcet tones too much today, so you need to get your finger out tomorrow, Bex, if you're still listening. Do some work, okay? She didn't have time today. There's too much happening. Oh, she was doing the interviews for the service, no doubt. Sean's sharing it. Well done, Sean. And Drew Wiley is here.
Yeah, that's so another of my wonderful drivers.
There you go. Believe it or not. And he is also saying, you're the most focused man you've ever come across when it comes to promoting this part of the world for a round of the World Championship. Absolutely fanatical work rate, trying to make it happen. Really do hope you succeed and would do whatever could help to achieve his dream. I think there's a lot of people would say exactly the same thing, Bob.
That's fabulous. Thank you, Drew.
We've got your back. It sounds like he's navigated for everybody. What a list. Yeah, Derek, you only thought you'd co-drove a few people come out of this man. It's mad, isn't it? Kenny McMenamin met Bobby at a Circuit Van launch event, which I won at the Icon Centre. I must say, he was a total gentleman. Got me running all the rally cars. That's excellent. Which were there. Even got me to meet Carl Frampton, Kenny from Kessel there. Kenny, good to have you here. Omar's here. Hey. Hello to the great guy, Bobby. Hi.
Fantastic.
Omar Avila is from Argentina. He's from Carlos Paz, and he is one of the coordinators that work behind the scenes of the WRC TV team promoter. He coordinates a lot of the movements. Just a really top bloke. Hi, well, he'd be going to bed now as well. Yeah. Dave Whittock's here. That's great. So great to listen tonight, Bobby. Top man. Who else have we got? Christopher Douglas. Brilliant to listen to Bobby's love for rallying is mind blowing. Yeah. Hi, Malcolm. We're still there. There you go. So, as I told you, 2.5 hours in, there's still people there. Loads, hundreds of people still watching live, Bobby.
Oh, wow.
Sean says, what an interesting man. Fantastic stories. Another great guest again. Wishing Bobby luck in getting WRC Northern Ireland on the calendar soonest. I concur. Jenny again. The sound of the Tuttle Porsche was amazing. It was with Bobby Woodside in it. Yeah, they're still here, you see. Over 2 hours in the house, and you mentioned the tap. Right, you're going to have to explain that one, Bob.
No, we'll leave that one be.
So Sean's saying, I've only Motorsport Ireland at a man like us to the top. So you work closely with Motorsport Ireland as well, Bobby. And the Tarmac Championship. Again, we haven't even talked about what you've been doing in the Tarmac Rally Championship over the years, more recently. So again, just a few thoughts on that.
Trevor, the Tarmac Championship in Ireland is one of the most untapped opportunities that I could believe possible, and I never can believe just how it doesn't seem to be merging into a unit where it can go forward in such a massive way, and I believe with all my heart that if we can get this WRC to come to Ireland, that might kickstart something better, something to really get going. I mean, Bex, as you know, has been involved in Irish rallying now for a number of years, and I think she's added an enormous amount of professionalism and just I see real opportunities with what can be done with Irish rallying, and I just don't know what we need to do to get that spark going. I mean, the rallies are there, the competitors are there, but we just need that merging of them all to come together to be involved as a big one.
Was it your idea all those years ago to get Bex across to help with that? Okay.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And a great idea it was. Well, and she loves it, She brought her mum back over to West Cork.
She did, yeah.
2019 Galway Rally. The number of R5 cars in that one, that's the one, remember, John Armstrong started as well in the Dirt Rally 2 car. Alistair Fisher was quickest in the first stage. Craig was doing. So 2019 and that first rally and the competition throughout the years, you got Callum Devine, you got Craig Breen, you got Ali Fisher, and a host of others, the Moffats, and I'm going to clearly leave somebody out. Johnny Greer was at the sharp end. There's lots of guys having a proper battle, and any one of those guys could have set a fastest time.
Absolutely, and anyone did, to be honest.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. But it takes more than good rallies. What I would love to see, if I had the magic wand, is to get them all to go into a proper championship and all pull the oars together and make that really the events to come to, which we are so close to having.
Yeah. So, Rally Northern Ireland then, what do you need people to do to help you get this thing sorted then? Is there anything, any message you have to anybody?
I mean, I suppose the biggest thing is down to money. That's number one. That we have to raise the funds. We have to get a proper big sponsor in on this, and that is hard in these days. But I don't think it's impossible. I suppose the other key thing that we need to do is to prove to our tourism authorities and government that by running an event like this, we will get enough people coming to stay. It's down to bums and beds. To get the return on investment that we need to have, which I absolutely, totally, completely believe in, that we will have this amount of visitors. We've said we'll get 120,000 spectators at the rally, and knowing what Rally Island was, I mean, that's small fry compared to that. So what we tend to try to look at figures that we can easily attain, and then there's no questions asked. So if we say there will be 30,000 bed nights, then I think we'll probably get 40,000 bed nights. We don't massage figures. And that's the next thing that we're actually working on at the moment. We're putting a survey together and hope to be launching that in the next week, maybe 2 weeks, which we hope to be putting round. I'm very hopeful that Motorsport Ireland will be helping us with that, and indeed Motorsport UK are leading on trying to get the rally here. So that will be a very important thing to show that we have the commitment and want of people who are prepared to come to Northern Ireland to watch and stay at the rally. So I suppose those are the key things that we can get to then. And how small is this to be thinking about it? But if COVID would just get the hell out of our lives, I almost feel guilty saying that, but we've all put so much effort into getting the rally here, but crikey, there's so many more people hurting in such a big way. So I shouldn't be saying things like that, but I think if we can get those things matched together, then we've got a good chance of getting the rally together.
Yeah, I think the key as well is every country is going to be opening their doors. The hospitality industry in particular has been hammered because of this virus and everything being locked down. So, and there's no doubt about it, in Northern Ireland we will get a lot of revenue from tourism. It's clearly that. So there's got to be some sort of budget ring fence to try and kickstart the economy from that side of things, I'd have thought.
Trevor, there is, but the problem is, I'm here speaking to somebody who's for 3 years running been speaking to economists who are, I couldn't say a strange breed because I don't mean that, but they are a person who, if you say there are 10,000 people going to be there, then they say, well, prove it to me. Yeah. So how do you prove that? So now we can prove it with a properly functioned survey, which we will be putting out. Yeah. We have proof from all the other World Rally Championship events, and I suppose at the end of the day, Trevor, it's down to hard work and commitment and belief, and if we can get a sniff of this thing happening, and I can promise you, I wouldn't be working as hard as I am if I didn't truly, firmly believe we can do it. If we can get a sniff, we're away. And I tell you, every one of those people who are asking if they can help will be asking for help.
Yeah.
Because this is a rally for Ireland. It isn't necessarily a rally for Northern Ireland. It's a rally that we can all move forward with. It's a rally that will inject into motorsport what we need, what we saw in 2007 and 2009 for the island of Ireland, and indeed for the UK, that we can grasp it and reinvigorate it again.
Yeah. And everybody needs to pull together on it. As I said, the Motorsport Industry Association, for example, all the people who are part of that, who earn money from motorsport, will need this halo effect when you bring around the World Championship here to promote the sport of rallying. And then people like Ivan Kennedy, who's asked, any ideas on how to make rallying cheaper for the clubman. And for me, it's attracting more money into the sport, which you do with the halo effect. And it's no different to anything. Car manufacturers introduced, like Audi, of an R8 model just to produce something that's spectacular to get people to buy A3s, and it's no different to this. If you're coming in with an event that showcases how brilliant the sport of rallying is, it's much easier for those clubmen people to go and get sponsorship, which will cheaper the rallying for that particular clubman.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have time to get into the debate about this, but I have no problem in the future maybe having a special if people want to air their thoughts on it, and just we're quite happy to sit around and chew the fat with some people. I am anyway in the future. But I think the most important thing now is just to try and have a united front and make sure that everybody's interested in the sport, no matter which part of the two islands that they're from, because as I say, this is a UK and Ireland thing. In order to get the World Championship back into our part of the world, to get the profile of rallying high again. So then people like Robbie McGurk, who used to earn a living as a preparation company, so Robbie, of course, and lots of I think that's a bit of a private joke, which
I think it better stay as a private joke.
We'll keep that one there. So Matt, I think, shares a lot of our feelings. If anybody can make it happen, it's you. You certainly worked tirelessly for it. And all we can say is wish you all the best with it. Would there be a national section? Again, that's probably in the long finger.
I think it's a long finger, David. I think the most important thing is let's get the rally, and then we can sort out how we're going to run it.
Yeah.
No.
So there you go. I told you it'd be more than 2 hours, so 2.5 hours later. Anything you'd like to finish with, Bobby? Any messages, anything you don't want to say to people before we wrap it here?
Well, I suppose if I could just say my heartfelt thanks, and I really mean just every bit of thanks and gratitude to all the people who've backed this idea, who've backed me, who believe that there is an opportunity to get here. And I don't make this up. This is belief that we can do it, and I couldn't be more grateful. I think I've only met 3 or 4 people in my life who've been naysayers, should we say, about this rally, and that is just an incredible feeling. And I suppose to thank everybody is all I can do, and let's just hope that we can get it going, and make yourself known. If there's something you can do, please do say so.
Yeah.
I mean, also, Trevor, thank you. This, even though you did spring it on me over the last, when my tooth is dropping out, the bloody power's cutting and everything like this, this has been an amazing experience for me too. I mean, I don't mind telling you, this morning I sat down and thought, what am I going to talk about? And then I got a couple of boxes out from the roof space, and to look back over 40 years of motorsport, which I'm still involved in, and I lived this from when I was 20 years through to today. I am the luckiest guy in the whole world. There's no doubt. I mean, to be paid this amount of, for 40 years, paid to do your hobby.
Follow your passion.
It is just fantastic, and and that's the reason I want to put things back. This rally I could well do without working every day on a World Championship event, but I so believe that I owe something back to the sport, and I so believe that it's the right thing to do. And it's been a real privilege to be here today, and I'm so grateful to everybody for even those 6 people who are still awake listening to me droning on.
There's still hundreds there. There's still hundreds there. And it's a legacy. The whole idea of the show is to get people on to talk rally stories. Your stories have been fabulous, and we want to create more stories for those people looking back at the 2022 when the World Rally Championship came to Northern Ireland. I was there, and just all the wonderful stories that would create. That's what we're looking to do, create memories for
absolutely.
that.
And we can do it, Trevor.
We can do it. And, going back to what I said, the way you convinced me to get involved in 2016 was, in our wee country, we can put on as good a rally as anybody in the world, because we've got
Absolutely.
the people here, we've got the passion here, and we've got the just the drive to be able to prove to people all the history and all the crap that was going on in our country for all those years. It didn't change us; it made us more determined to make to make things better. And this is a great way to showcase just how wonderful our wee country is. And I definitely can't wait. It'll be great. We'll get there.
Well, I hope so, Trevor. I hope so, and I think a lot of other people think so. I don't know what the population of the island of Ireland is, but wouldn't it be great?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Folks, if you want to watch any of these shows, remember stagesbystage.com/blog. If you want to send me a note or anything you want to get in touch, info@stagesbystage.com. That's where you'll find us for the live shows, which will be up as a recording in about 10 minutes or so on Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to go into Twitter, you'll be able to see it there as well, for live shows and podcasts. And there's 15 different podcasts there as well, with very, very successful people that you maybe learn a little bit about. And again, following the like of Bobby's shoes, where started with nothing, built a few relationships, met people, took opportunities, did something about it, and here we are, hoping to bring a round of the World Rally Championship to Ireland as an island. Bobby, stay where you are. We'll just finish and we'll have a quick chat, and that'll be it. Folks, we'll see you next week. Next Friday night should be very special if it all comes off, and we'll catch up with you then. Take care.